Because I don't have enough time to all the lawsuits that they lost.
I bought this and I'm so happy I did because I'm so used to like filming and I'm like, I breathe heavy. I have a real, I mean, probably no one else notices, but like,
Plus, then you probably get upset.
yes, and I'm like, ah, yeah. Lovely seeing you here. You got this.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, we're not going to consider what you're saying. Yes.
Fill this out. And we can only speak once. So it can't be on individual. Yeah, it starts. Yeah. Right, good questions. I want this. What? It's hot here. It was hot outside. I was like, we're all black. Shouldn't have done that.
Post the whole thing, or is it
Yeah.
just
I'll post it. We'll be hours. Yeah, she is. And she's on her way. What's that? I know. It's like fun when you see people who have it. One of my friends makes a t-shirt. Shit's terrible circumstances. Alex, you're here.
Yeah, because Emma's going to speak.
I'm proud of you. Yes. I know. Oh my gosh. One I don't want to do that I was just working. Everybody knows I have mouth. I have mass. Oh, yeah. Can I have one? Yeah, yeah. I just don't love these.
Committee and community survey.
It's on pause right now because that's some
Board of Education to at 1 o'clock. Special board meeting workshop. Can you please?
Shall we stand? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone.
Maybe roll call. Jeanette Wilson. Here. Patty Holly. Present. Melissa Arroyo. Present. Kenny Olson.
Present.
Okay, just a couple of, first of all, welcome, thank you for coming. This meeting is a workshop, which is going to be a little bit different than maybe some of you have seen. Workshops are open to the public, and that's why we have it set up this way. Typically in a workshop, you can imagine it's for us to do some work, so we're usually around the table looking at charts and things like that. So this is going to be a little bit different, but it's designed so that the board can have a discussion and a discussion only. That's important because there will not be any action today. There will not be voting on any specific policy. The policies that are on the agenda are listed. Those are the policies that the board will discuss. The goal or the purpose of calling the workshop was so that the board could together have a discussion about these policies and set a possible direction. This is just a step in a process of getting these policies possibly passed. What happens next after the board sets direction is we very much have to negotiate much of the language that is in every one of these policies. And so the board, if they are successful in setting the direction today, the next step is to make those available to RTA and RESPA so that we can start negotiations with the language that this board sets. Our RTA and RESPA have copies of the drafts that you should have a copy now. There's some in the back if you didn't get one. The reason why they're drafts is this is the reason we're having a workshop. We're having a workshop so that the board can review those drafts and determine whether or not they want to move forward with those drafts, or they want something different. That's the discussion that we plan to have today. We have comments that we're going to commence here in a couple of minutes. We have, I think, 35 cards as of right now. As soon as the first person starts speaking, then we will stop taking cards. The president has decided to allow 1.5 minutes of comments, and then after we hear from everybody, then we will start the discussion. There is only one item today, and so that's why everybody is getting one opportunity to speak. And so you will have your opportunity to speak if you turn in the card, and you'll have to. Okay.
Okay, we're going to start with public participation. This is the time that any member of the public may address the board on any agenda or consent item listed for consideration, provided the person submits a completed registration card to address the board form to the clerk of the board or his or her designee prior to the time that the chairperson calls the item for the board's consideration. This is not meant to be a debating period. Comments and concerns regarding agenda or consent items will be heard, but any issue relating to policy matters will be referred to the superintendent. The person wishing to address the board shall, when recognized by the chairperson of the board, step up to the podium and announce his or her name. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, the chairperson shall establish the amount of time each speaker may use to address the board prior to the first speaker, in no more than 3 minutes, unless the chairperson or majority of the board determines that a different time limit is appropriate. And this afternoon we'll do 1.5 minutes. All right, so Jeanette, you're the first person.
Okay, I'm gonna call out the first speaker, and then the second one can kind of step to the side if they like. First up, we have Becca Peterson.
Welcome, Becca.
Thank you. Good afternoon, my name is Becca Peterson. I am a first grade teacher at Judson and Brown Elementary School. My husband is a teacher at Moore Middle School, and our children attend Moore and Judson and Brown. I am here today on my own personal time, and I'd rather be in the classroom right now with my students. But I'm here because this issue is so important to me and so many of the co-workers that cannot be here today. I believe that our students deserve the chance to see themselves in the stories that they read. When you see yourself in literary characters, that's one of the best parts of reading. Don't we want that? We can provide that sense of connection, that feeling of being understood, of being less alone, of feeling safe because you're represented in books. As a teacher, I know that my students deserve to see themselves in those stories on our bookshelves. At the same time, students should learn about those who are not like them in those same stories. If you are not familiar, because you're new here today, with what we teach in Second Step, our SEL curriculum, let me tell you that we teach empathy, kindness, problem solving, and respecting differences. So if you don't see yourself in those characters in the story, that's okay. It's okay because your outlook is being shaped by the important SEL topics that we talk about. At times, I agree that maybe we need more critical thinking around some of the books, but that doesn't mean that we need to pull them off the shelves. Thank you for allowing me to be here today when I'd rather be at school with my students.
Okay, next up, Alex Beltran, followed by Lou Whitmore.
Welcome, Alex.
Good afternoon, my name is Alex Beltran. I am a resident of nearby San Bernardino, but I'm here on behalf of friends and family members that are teachers and parents that couldn't be here today. The time of this meeting is when a lot of people are at work, and including staff and teachers that are doing their, as the previous speaker mentioned, they're doing their job right now. And we're asking not to change the policy. It's giving very authoritarian, and so we're on the same page. Authoritarian means favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority, especially that of the government at the expense of personal freedom. All the hardworking staff, they just want to do their job, and creating these policies feels like a waste of time. My understanding is that currently parents have all the access they want to any material curriculum that students have access to, and only a handful, if that, take the opportunity to review the curriculum. You're putting the district at risk of costly lawsuits and more unnecessary work for your staff. You should focus on addressing the racism that was brought up at the last school board meeting and making sure schools are safe for Black students, not just students that look like you. Thank you.
Rue Whitmore, followed by Jennifer Mirabellis.
Welcome, Rue.
Thank you. To be clear, I am a working parent who is taking time off of work to be here, and I am paying someone to watch my child, because apparently you all need babysat. Okay? You can't be trusted to stand up to copy and paste policies that have already been struck down in other districts. These have been labeled as too discriminatory, Candy, and have already cost $700,000 this year in the Chino School District and $1.5 million last year. We don't have the time and we don't have the money for this. 3 school board goals, do you know what they are? What are your school board goals, Candy? I'm sure you don't know, let me remind you. Literacy by the 3rd grade, math assistance for middle schoolers till they get up to par, and dual immersion. None of these policies address any of that. So why don't you start doing your actual job with the goals that you set instead of these policies? We aren't focusing on racism that parents clearly felt weren't addressed well by you or Michelle in our last session, or teacher retention. Instead, you're focusing on culture war nonsense that won't help our kids do any better in reading, math, or science. And Michelle, directly to you, you need to be brave. You need to say with your whole chest, these children deserve their rights. Other parents don't get to make choices for children that aren't theirs. That their many diversities and identities enhance the greatness of our schools and do not detract from it. And then you need to back it with action and cancel these policies.
Hi there, my name is Jennifer Maravillas. I am a parent of a student that attends the district. I am a community member that lives here in Redlands. And I'm here today to be yet another voice to stand up for our community and make sure that the right thing is done. Last school board meeting was very difficult watching it as a parent. The circumstances that the parents had to face and that child had to face in their school, the notes and the things that they had to live through is just heartbreaking. As a mother to a brown child who has previously talked about her skin color, it is really alarming that this school board, we have a city member who has defended the Nazi flag. We have someone who is trying to push a policy that in other school boards have cost millions of dollars in legal fees. Think about what we can do with that money for our students. And Michelle, we already know what Candy Olson and Jeanette Wilson are for, and we know their agenda. We are counting on you to stand on the right side. And please know that we are really counting on you to do the right thing. So please deny these policies that will negatively affect our students, our teachers, and our school board.
Followed by Laura Diamond.
My name is Valerie Tabor. I'm a resident of Area 5 and I'm a parent of a student in our district. Before I begin, I'd like everyone who's come today to speak out against these policy revisions to stand as a visual reminder to our board of how unpopular these policies are. Let's I ask you to end this farce. How many complaints have school sites received on these issues? And to be clear, how many complaints have the board received regarding books or pride flags that were not made by Dale Broom or made by the local hate group Awaken Redlands? These policies are harmful and will do nothing to support or protect our students or staff and do nothing to further their education. How about in these divisive and tumultuous times, rather than feeding wedge issues, we instead affirm the protections for our most vulnerable students? Lastly, how is the public supposed to give informed feedback if these drafts were only made available to the public right now, right before the meeting? Not being included at that time does not mean that it was an ethical choice to withhold them. As always, please consider a Zoom option for community accessibility and transparency, especially since the community clearly has a strong desire to participate. Thank you.
that my name is Laura Diamond. I'm a Redlands resident, a parent, a teacher in the Inland Empire for more than 30 years. And as a teacher, I'm here to tell you that no matter what happens with these exclusionary policies, we teachers are going to go out about our business. And when we shut the door in the morning quietly, we're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell the truth to our students. We're going to teach the good things about our country, but also the ugly underbelly. We're going to teach them what really has happened in our history. From the stealing land from Native Americans, enslaving hundreds of thousands of people, preventing blacks from generational wealth building, the list goes on and on. And we will continue to teach our students about those things. In addition, in high school health classes, we will tell the truth about the human body and sexuality, and we will let science lead the way. We're going to do these things and more, and there really is nothing you can do to stop us. The truth matters, and whatever policies you may enshrine, when that door shuts, it's me and my students and the truth. Thousands of classrooms all over, we're all going to do the same thing because we want critically thinking students who can critically think. You can't stop us.
Next up, we have Jeff Mays, followed by Trish Keenan.
Hello. I live in Northern Redlands, and I didn't vote for Ms. Wilson because it seemed like she was intent on diverting the school district's attention away from the business of teaching and learning, so it can focus instead on cultural war for all. And here we are. I was a high school English teacher for 15 years, and when I see that you want to implement a district policy that bans all controversial activities, it worries me. Controversy is a tool that educators use to help develop critical thinking. When the government makes it illegal for Antigone to bury her brother, should she defy the government to honor the brother that she loves? When Hamlet is considering suicide as a solution to his problems, what should he do? Educators take these opportunities in literature to have students look at different points of view, to engage in logic, to gather evidence. Removing controversy in our schools is a disservice to the intellectual development of the students in our community.
Good afternoon, board members and Superintendent Cabral. First, I'd like to address the complete lack of transparency regarding today's special workshop. You had the opportunity to release the agenda days before you did, but you waited until the last possible second. Having such an important and controversial discussion happen on a Friday, right before spring break, while teachers and students are in class, shows you how little you care about having the community express their opinions regarding matters that will bring our district under statewide scrutiny and land us in lawsuits. You know forcibly outing students after the Safety Act AB 1955 was passed. That Redlands will be sued by the Attorney General in the state of California. In fact, their office was notified today that you are discussing this now. Another clear sign that this board cares less and less about transparency since board members Wilson and Wilson were elected. As a reminder, Wilson only won by 197 votes. You are no longer counting emails towards public record. Forced outing has already been through the court system because of Chino Valley's court case. The policy you are proposing right now is almost identical to the second version of that forced outing policy, and it was struck down in court as the judge presiding over that case felt it was, quote, too discriminatory. It's almost word for word that one. This will end us up in court, and you know that. Keep our money out of the courtroom and in our classrooms.
Next up, we have Chris Baptiste, and followed by Greg Knapp.
Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. My name is Chris Claudis. I am a resident of Redlands, a retired public school teacher, and grandfather to 5 RUSD students. I have read your proposed policy change 611 fine, and I find it terrifying. This is a classic example of First Amendment free speech suppression. Under this proposal, the only speech that will be permitted in school will be patriotic speech. I assume that you will reserve for yourselves the authority to judge which speech is sufficiently patriotic and which opposition speech will be labeled traitorous and therefore banned. You are even outlawing divisive speech, meaning that it will now be illegal to speak divergent opinions which divide the listeners into those who agree and those who disagree. This is madness. You say you want to protect children from ideological and divisive practices, yet your proposal advocates just exactly that. Under your proposal, students will no longer have the right to question authority, and the very act of questioning authority will be labeled by you as unpatriotic. You are advocating the ideological practice of unquestioned acquiescence to authority, and there is no more intellectually stifling practice than that. You should be encouraging students to form their own opinions and to back those opinions up with germane facts and Socratic logic. Those students will then take their opinions into the marketplace of ideas where sound opinions supported by relevant facts will flourish, and opinions supported by specious arguments which mask hidden agendas will wither on the vine. As educators, it should be your goal to produce inquisitive citizens who ask probative questions and who insist on valid answers. Your proposal does the exact opposite. Your proposal does not produce an intelligent citizenry. It will produce a compliant citizenry. And as we all know, a compliant citizenry is an absolutely essential ingredient to any dictatorship.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Aft. I'm a resident of Redlands and a board member for the California Teachers Association. I'd like to read you some of the parts of the Safety Act because with all the stuff going on, I'm sure you haven't read it. Choosing when and how to come out and to whom is a deeply personal decision that every LGBTQ plus person has the right to make for themselves. How many parents and families understand this and want to support their children coming out to them on their own terms. Unfortunately, not all young people are welcomed or safe being their authentic selves at home, and in those cases, schools can be a critical source of support. Research shows that affirming school environments result in better mental health for transgender youth. However, since the start of 2023, multiple school boards in California have voted to pass forced outing policies requiring teachers to notify parents if their child identifies as transgender. Moreover, educators have faced retaliation for supporting students' right to safe and inclusive educational environment. Policies that forcibly out pupils without their consent remove opportunities for LGBTQ plus young people to build up trust and confidence and have these conversations with family when they are ready and in ways that strengthen the relationship between parents and child. And it also provides additional protections against retaliation for educators seeking to create an inclusive and safe environment, school environment. So the teacher that came up earlier, all you educators, you have a right to do what she was saying and teach this.
Followed by Michael Peterson.
Welcome.
Sorry.
Board members, Superintendent, Mr. Cabral, and audience. My name is Emma Barra, and I'm so really nervous.
Laura Serna, please.
Sorry, okay. Alright. My name is Emma Barra, and I'm here today because our education, our freedom to think, and our rights as students are being threatened. Let's be clear, this isn't about parents being involved in their kids' education. It's about silencing voices, erasing history, and making sure only certain ideas are heard. This policy creates fear in classrooms, making teachers afraid to teach the truth. Education isn't supposed to be comfortable, it's supposed to challenge us. Banning books is censorship, what is authoritative governments do, which isn't surprising because Jeanette Wilson said the Nazi flag isn't a hate symbol to those who believe in it. That is just crazy. The Nazi flag stands for genocide and white supremacy. There's no excuse, no debate. If our leaders can't even condemn that, how can we trust them with our education? And let's talk about accessibility. This meeting is scheduled at 1 p.m., a time when students and teachers are in school. I had to miss class just to be here and make my voice heard. How can you say you care about students when you make it impossible for us to speak on issues that affect us? If you actually listen to students and teachers, you know these policies don't help us, they hurt us. I'm a Christian, so I ask myself every day, what would God want? He would want truth over fear, knowledge over ignorance, and love over control. I hope God nudges your heart to do what's right. Support students, support teachers, and support the freedom to learn. Thank you.
Hello, Michael Paisner. For those of you who may not have a heart and still are not convinced, let me give you the rest of the financial and legal picture. Our federal government's attempt to eliminate the Department of Education is going to mean less money for our district. And in case you don't remember, the financial status presented at the last board meeting projected shrinking revenues for the next few years. Keep in mind that the proposals you are about to discuss have been tried in neighboring districts, resulting in fines, legal fees. They've been ruled illegal, a few words tweaked, and then it was still ruled illegal because the discriminatory intent of the policies had already been made clear. And now you want to roll the dice on the same policies here in Redlands and see what legal quagmire you end up in. Chino's legal fees doubled after they adopted these policies. Redlands needs to keep our money in the classroom, not the courtroom. The other effect of these policies to consider is the impact on teachers and staff. As of yesterday, Redlands only has 18 unfilled job openings in our schools. Chino has 73 and Temecula 105. Chino and Temecula have unfilled jobs at 3 to 4 times the rate of Redlands. This is not an accident. Teachers, librarians, staff, no one wants to work in Chino or Temecula because they are pushing the illegal policies you are about to consider. News cameras are not a sign of success at a school board meeting. We want to hear from the community. We're speaking.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Pat Mueller, followed by Megan McLean.
Welcome, Pat.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm Pat Wilmar, and I've been teaching for 30 years, and I have to say this, I've never been so ashamed of the board, of my students. In all my years, I never thought that I would be speaking so angrily to you, but I am seeing what is democratic here turning into tyranny. Did you see how many people stood up? Candy, where's your hardworking constituents? How many of you, raise your hand, how many of you have jobs?
I'm right here.
Yeah, how many of you have jobs?
Who has a job?
Okay, you're just all
right here.
listening. Okay, you were elected. Jeanette, you're supposed to represent me. I'm one of your constituents. I do not feel it. I don't feel the love. The banning of books. Who are the people who ban books? Kids. They're not the good guys. And when it comes to porn, I would not put porn. I am proud of my job. I'm proud of my fellow teachers. We do not do that. And if the sight of people holding hands, it enrages you, that's fine. You've already heard from times prior where people can make complaints. Jeanette, if you want to make a complaint about a book and you don't want your kid reading it, no problem. The librarians here will accommodate you. And these books have been vetted. You know what the real problem is? Why haven't you talked about this?
Yeah.
This is the point. What is this? Michelle, I've talked to you publicly. I've talked to you at times. I know you. You can stop the slide into dangerous territory. Please.
You got it.
Welcome, Megan.
I'm Megan McLean, and I am raising two 6th-generation Redlands Unified School District kids. The fact that the California Department of Justice had to demand reformation and require 5 years of oversight should be an embarrassment to Redlands. Instead of learning from that mistake, Redlands is indulging the whims of a few and discussing the same culture war talking points that have already been discussed in other districts, which in turn has caused billions in losses from the legal policies. We cannot afford the litigious cost of these policies, nor is the DOJ enacting further civil rights action against RUSDs. For the past several years, the majority of parents, students, and staff who have come and spoken have opposed the book bans, live bans, outing policies. The opinions over and over have been heard by this board not to make these changes. And changing the time of day and limiting participation will not change that history. Neither will being voted onto this board make any members' scrupulous opinions any more acceptable to the majority of parents, students, and teachers. Indulging discussions of these policies is disrespectful to the staff and students of an education system where anyone has the right to attend and exist in safety, free from abuse or discrimination. There is no fence RUSD can build that will keep the students in the school safe from outside terrors if it does not change its ways to stop the bullying, abuse, and discriminations that terrorize inside. Thank you.
Next up, we have Valerie Lee, followed by Susan Padilla.
Oh boy.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Valerie Lee from area 1. And I want to speak up for the American flag. I'm glad we did the Pledge of Allegiance to start our meeting. The American flag is inclusive of everybody. I do want to bring up, I found out that the California mandates, there's a law or a regulation, California Education Code Section 52720 mandates that schools conduct patriotic exercises daily. So I'm just wondering, I know we're at business school, I'm just wondering, are we still doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day.
And so are we doing it in every classroom? Yes. And the reason why I asked.
Addressing the board, you just address the board, please.
And the reason why I brought it up, I got concerned because we did have one speaker say, when she closes the door, she'll do her own thing. So how do we know that we're following through on that?
She'll do it still.
And I'm glad to hear it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And play a recording of it. For the whole school.
Welcome, Susan. Welcome.
Good afternoon, board and superintendent. My name is Susan Padilla. I'm a 25-year resident of Redlands. All 3 of my children graduated from Redlands High School, and 3 of my grandchildren are currently enrolled in the school system here. I'm also a retired educator of 39 years. I'm here to speak about AR 1312.2 and the potential removal of books from curriculum and or the libraries based on parental concerns. I take issue particularly with Section 2. The immediate removal of challenged materials is inappropriate and constitutes a ban of that book. I also disagree with the proposed new complaint form as it removes questions as to whether the complainant has read the book or any portion of it. It also removes the option of reevaluating the work for use. My comments here are personal. I read Aldous Huxley's Brave New World with my daughter when she was in high school at Redlands High. And we read the sensitive parts together and we had conversations about it, how it contributed to the themes and the issues presented in the book.
I would do nothing to remove that opportunity from another parent who wanted it. Those books are valuable. They are valuable to our students. They are valuable to the conversations that parents can have with students. I would like you, as you consider this new policy, to continue your current system whereby one parent can remove their child from instruction.
We have Elizabeth Antos, followed by Jennifer Escobar.
Hello, I'm an RUSD teacher, parent, and involved member of this community. There are a lot of people here today who have taken off work, arranged childcare, cleared their very busy schedules to be here. You can see that they've the majority of people here stand in strong opposition to policies that would limit free speech, seek to trample teachers and students' rights, and endanger vulnerable students, our most vulnerable students. These policies are wildly unpopular, and not just here, all over. Because of that, they will be challenged every step of the way. That will drag our district into expensive legal battles that will drain our already suffering budgets. Districts that have attempted to pass policies like these are losing teachers left and right, as we heard. Without good teachers, we have nothing. Patty and Melissa, please continue to speak out loudly and proudly as you have. Michelle, I know you care about our students. There is no doubt that these policies will harm, not help our students. Please use your position of power and your privilege and listen to us.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Hello, board members and Superintendent Cabral. My name is Jennifer Escobar. First, I had to take time off work to speak today. Having this workshop where you're discussing incredibly unpopular policies that affect and can harm our students during the middle of a workday is a way to stifle discussion. I will be speaking to item AR 1312. As a parent of two children, one who is a middle schooler in the district and one who is entering TK next year to start their reading, a former public high school English teacher and a current community college English professor, and an avid reader, I am deeply concerned about the stance that some members on this board are taking to limit access to educational resources, including books. There's already a policy and the parent or guardian has an issue with a book. Growing up in a conservative evangelical Christian household, I may have been stopped from seeing certain content on TV by my mom, a first-generation bilingual Mexican-American woman, but she also understood the power of reading and books and the importance of accessing a quality public education. She never stopped my four brothers and me from accessing books. In fact, she would supplement our unfortunately narrow required reading list with writers like Luis Rodriguez and Maya Angelou, not in an attempt to indoctrinate us, but rather so we can understand ourselves, the world around us, the past, and our possible futures. Sadly, 20 years later, I have found the same experiences for my oldest child, who would talk about the very limited number of interesting books they could check out from the school library at their Redlands Elementary School. I find myself...
Up next, we have Matt Appleby, followed by Kate Appleby.
Okay, thank you, board members. I know recently you all have suggested and experienced many things from our, as we see in the mission statement, unique communities of students, from being able to see Legally Blonde and snippets of that to having concerns about the water heaters under discussion a while back, and the needs or the weight upon our socioeconomically disadvantaged students and parents because of that. These policies that are being kind of looked at are going to only hurt those students and all students more. Flags and observances goes and gives students in a safe environment a chance to both be seen but also to see other cultures and see the unique communities in action. Right? The proposed board policy BP 5010, as many other people have said, is made illegal in the state of California by AB 1955, which then, seeing legally bond and anything, would wipe out many of our funds to have very good and worthwhile experiences for our students. It'll also, as other people have said, impact the amount of teachers willing to come and teach here. And I'll be honest, it's just not a good look for our community, which does, in general, celebrate diversity.
Good afternoon, Board. Superintendent Cabral. I am a lifelong Redlands resident, a product of this district. My child attends Citrus Valley High School, and I am a local educator. I am here primarily to speak on AB 1312.2. Your library staff in this district have spent years drafting a procedure with the input of board and the leadership at the district level, and this proposed policy decimates their work. And because I am a person who is nitpicky, I went through this and would like you, as you were going to workshop, to consider the following questions. 1, when you talk about the pervasive pornography, erotica, graphic descriptions of sexual acts, sexual violence, inappropriate vulgarity or profanity or other obscene material, whose definition are you using? Set. It is not right for any individual or group to determine what those words mean. Additionally, I would recommend that you keep reconsideration in the title, as that allows you to move a book and determine where it should be instead of just yanking it out of the school library. And as one speaker said, everybody should read the entire work.
Next up, we have Curtis Dyson, followed by Sarah Schenkel.
Welcome, Curtis.
Thank you. Hey, good evening, board president, board members, and superintendent. I'm here today as a parent of a Redlands Unified students. And next year, I'll have another one enrolled in TK that's smiling. He is very, very excited and would like to start today. I'm here to object to the harmful policies that are being proposed by the board. And I just want to share something with you, because these policies that you guys are spending so much time on are like, nobody's complaining about this. I was at a meeting at a school today, with open to all parents, admin was there. Nobody talked about this. They talked about safety, right? And vacancies in safety positions. Vacancies in bus drivers, because you can't run enough bus routes to get the kids to school, to fix our chronic absenteeism problem. Right? Why are y'all working on that? Where's the workshop on that? Where's the It's not helping our kids. And if these policies get implemented, it's going to hurt kids. It's going to hurt attendance. It's going to be bad all around. And I hope each one of you, in your brain, know how many teachers are we going to lose so we can pay attorney's fees for this stuff? How many RIFs are going to get issued next March 15th because of your decisions? I hope you reconsider, and I hope these policies do not go forward. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Schenkel, and I'm a parent of 3 children in the Redlands School District. I have been a volunteer in my children's classrooms and libraries, and I am currently the library paraprofessional at Judson and Brown Elementary. I don't know if there's anything I can say that hasn't already been said. So to the board members who want to take the control out of the teachers and librarians' hands, I understand that you think that by restricting which books are in the library, or which flags are flown, or which pronouns kids use, you are helping kids. You are not helping. You are hurting them and their education and their development of personhood. And by restricting what kids read based on your belief system, you are restricting their freedom. The argument I've heard before is that there is pornography in the libraries.
This idea is offensive to the librarians whose job it is to curate the school's collections. They get recommendations, read reviews, and choose books based on what kids will enjoy and learn from. Pornography has the explicit purpose of causing arousal. A book with something sexual does not equal pornography. Young adult literature has themes. It is not arousal. Themes of perseverance through adversity, coming of age, survival, family, death, redemption, revenge and forgiveness, friendship, and yes, gender identity. Books about gender identity and LGBTQ characters seem to be the ones that are being questioned the most right now. Let us be clear, there have always been and there will always be LGBTQIA people. Stories. I think we can all agree that safety and growing in knowledge and identity is the goal. Let us be that safe space for kids.
A, followed by Stephen Becker.
Welcome in.
Thank you. Wow, so a minute and a half to tackle flag bans, book bans, and outing trans kids. I prepared speeches for each topic, but since I only have time for one, I'll speak about the parental notification. I'm an openly queer healthcare provider in Redlands and a stepmom. I'd rather be with my patients or my daughter right now, but since this meeting was scheduled with zero transparency during working hours, I felt like it was important to be here because history takes attendance. I want you to first understand that the consequences of outing a student are devastating. Students are their own best judge of when it is safe and appropriate to do so. If you are a parent who is unsure if their child is trans, it is on you to make your home a safe place for them to come out on their own terms. Go home and tell your kid that you love them, no matter their gender, and they will come out to you in time, I promise. Kids don't hide their identity when they feel safe. As a teenager, I had to open my home to several of my trans peers because they were kicked out of their homes after coming out to their parents. I have seen the damage done firsthand. I truly don't know how you can be conflicted about this after hearing from teachers and guidance counselors and parents who have lost their trans kids to suicide. If you're still not convinced, we can also approach this issue from a scientific standpoint. As a healthcare worker, I know that access to support for trans youth saves lives. Studies show that in the past year, 1 in 3 transgender youth reported attempting suicide, almost 1/3 reported being a victim. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Becker. I'm a resident of Redlands, California. I am the grateful recipient of California Public Education from kindergarten to doctorate. Your work is important. Public education is the foundation for our prosperity and our freedoms. Thank you for your service. I direct my comments to you, Mrs. Olson, and to you, Mrs. Wilson. From your campaigns and the words that we have heard from you at public meetings, including meetings like this, it's clear that you are women of strong religious beliefs and cultural preferences. That's respected. This is America. We're free to believe and think as we choose. However, you are not free to impose your religious beliefs and your cultural preferences on other people's children. Please give that some consideration. I believe it's hard to use harsh language in a place where usually we should be talking about what schools we're going to renovate. But I believe that you are ideologues who have no room for other people who don't believe as you do and have no concept of a broad public education that involves challenges,
Next up, we have Alicia Owen, followed by Carol Ann Allred.
prioritize issues that truly matter in our schools, like protecting students from immigration officers, implementing full inclusion, fighting racism and religious discrimination, and improving math and literacy scores, not policies targeting marginalized populations to erase the aspects of their identity that expose them to prejudice. We do not live in a neutral world. Neutrality doesn't exist in the school district or the real world. That's not the country we live in. Pushing back on the sort of oppression that seeks to erase a person's identity takes strength. Solidarity and allyship in the forms of symbols and flags on campus help students struggling in the fight to know that they are not alone and that they have support from people in positions of authority at the schools and district. As for forced outings and book bannings, there are laws that prohibit these acts and policies. If you were to pass a policy to do with either, you will lose part of the district's LCFF funding. AB 1078 and AB 1955 have been chaptered. They are law. This board is not above the law. As part of the LCAP advisory board, we're tasked with coming up with suggestions about how to cut $2 million out of our budget.
This is really cool because the things I'm prepared to say are basically what I said 2 years ago, and I've heard most of it repeated here. I don't think I've ever had a classroom that heard me this well. This is kind of amazing, but I will repeat myself. So like I said, I'm here representing the librarians of our USD and parents. The school district is very, very fortunate to have highly trained, degreed, certificated teacher librarians in all its libraries at all its levels. We also have incredible techs and paraprofessionals, you've heard from some of them today, who make the running of the school day possible. So basically, what I'm here to remind everyone of is why these policies around the library and its books are unnecessary. Reminder that all parents, all guardians in Redlands Unified possess full access to the library catalog. It's on the school websites of every school, no login required. You can search there to be aware of each and every item in those library. Since the last time I spoke, there's now an app, Destiny Discover, which is what we use for the catalog. You can download it to your phone, use your own student's clever login to log into that app and see all their activity. Okay, that is your right as a parent or guardian of your student. You do not have rights over any other student's access or records.
We have Dr. Kimberly Hillier, followed by Angie De La Rosa.
Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you. My question is, who is this board serving? Because it should be our students. School board, are you upholding our USD's mission, which states we are preparing students to become productive participants in a diverse, multicultural, democratic society? The policies on today's agendas have the risk of violating that mission. I'm also calling you out today. Holding this special meeting during school hours, doing student pickup is a blatant attempt to silence the voices of students, teachers, and working parents. This isn't about convenience, it's about control. By scheduling this outside of the agreed upon meetings, loopholing it in a workshop, and not live streaming it, you are deliberately hiding the dark failings of your duty of transparency. Decisions that impact our children are being made without public accountability. This is unacceptable. You are using inaccessibility as a weapon to push exclusion, discrimination, and censorship. You notice and demand transparency, equity, and meetings held when the community can participate. As far as when you're reviewing and drafting policy AR 1312.2, it is not about student protection, it's about attack on learning and truth. Despite repeatedly failed attempts to push false claims about inappropriate books, the district and librarians have upheld the facts. We see through this. You are paving the way for book ban censorship.
Good afternoon, school board members and everyone that's here. My name is Angela De La Rosa, and I'm here just to speak about one thing. Everyone's been talking about the books and the library and the teachers and all that. I'm not here to attack anybody. I'm here to give some education. I'm assuming that science and psychology are still classes that are in the curriculum. So yesterday morning I read a 25-page article from Psychology News and Oxford Research about nurturing and nurturing. The topics discussed in the article were scientific studies, studying embryology, evolution, hereditary, DNA, environment, basic instinct, patterns of behavior, and so on. And the conclusion of the article stated that clearly there is no set findings that would end the nurturing and nurturing debates. It's not about research and evidence, it's not about rights, it's about hereditary DNA passed on from the parents. If hereditary makes up a lot of a child's being, then these children that they're protecting from their parents that have transgender confusion, why have not their ancestors or their family, whatever, also had these traits? So if that's it, your DNA and this, we need to understand this, and we need to study science more. Where does critical thinking and science cross? This is a medical and psychological issue, and the school teachers have no authority over our children. The parent must be notified if the child is acting out of this, not be lied to. Thank you.
Next up, we have Lindsay Schmidt, followed by Stephanie Noble.
Good afternoon. My name is Lindsay Schmitz. I'm a mother of 2 boys who go to Mission Elementary. As a Redlands parent, I am not comfortable with the idea of other actors being allowed to decide what is accessible to my children, and I'd like to tell you a story about why. The 1997 book, It's Perfectly Normal by Robbie Harris, is one of the most often contested books in history. It's often banned or challenged for its frank depiction of several topics, including sexual abuse. A 10-year-old girl in Delaware checked it out and later brought her mother the chapter on sexual abuse, saying, "This is me." She was being abused. The judge in the court case later to convict her abuser said there are 2 heroes in this case. One was the child, the other was the book. Do not empower the uninformed to take our heroes, our books, out of commission. We have a word for people that align themselves against heroes, and I'm sure that the board will have the wisdom to not align itself with villainy.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Noble. I'm a resident of Highland and a TK teacher at Jensen Road. I have 2 children that have both graduated from Redlands Unified School District, as well as myself and as well as my father and my mother. I too would rather be teaching right now than be here having to speak to you. So, do students have the right to be out at school? Yes. Do students have the right to be addressed by the name and pronouns that correspond to their gender identity? Yes. Do children have the right to dress in a way that matches their gender identity? Yes. Do children or students have the right to participate in school programs and activities like sports or PE according to their gender identity? Yes. Do they have the right to use children's facilities, school facilities, like restrooms, locker rooms, according to their gender identity? Yes. Do students have the right to be free from bullying and harassment at school? Yes. Do Do children have the right to keep information about their gender identity or sexual orientation private? Yes. Can their school district adopt a policy requiring school staff to out students against their will? No.
Next up, we have SIWs.
Sue.
Followed by Elizabeth Riley.
Welcome, Sue.
Good afternoon. Hi, Michelle. How are you? Thanks for listening to us in the community. I'm a parent to a middle schooler and a high schooler in Redlands Unified School District. I've worked 7 years in my kids' school's PTA. Schools should be a safe space. Students deserve a safe space at school. For example, attending Pride Club. My daughter told me yesterday that there is a student at the Pride Club at her school who has homophobic parents. And when I told my daughter that this will require that student's parents to be notified that they're in Pride school, she looked at me and got very worried for that student, because this means that the student would not show up to Pride Club. This is a safe space for them. This is a place where they belong, and they feel they belong. The problem in this case are the parents, not the school. These policies cater to the homophobes, encourage hate, and tell students they don't belong, that they don't matter. Ms. Wilson, Ms. Olson, I wrote letters to you and encouraged you to go to the recent Children's Literature Festival. I didn't see you there. I saw one abroad.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Riley, and I am a teacher here in Redlands, as well as a parent to 3 current RUSD students. I'm here today to express my opposition to the proposed policy changes. Parents and teachers have already made it very clear that we disagree with the proposed flag policy change, as well as the removal of cultural celebrations. As a former English teacher and a parent of avid readers, I am against the banning of books. Banning books is not going to help our reading scores in any way. It merely serves to appease extremist agendas. Those who ban books are never looked back as good guys. When it comes to parental notifications, as a teacher, it is not my job to police children's gender and identity. As a parent, I do not want any school employee concerning themselves with that aspect of my child's life. I am concerned that this workshop is being held during the school and workday, when less parents and teachers can attend and speak their minds. I just learned that parents can no longer email their comments. They have to be in person. And considering all these things, as well as the fact that my area board member, Candy, has me blocked on Instagram, it feels like you don't want to hear from your constituents, us.
Yeah.
Last, we don't have any money. We can't afford lawsuits. My school just told us to not use the color copier machine because we're almost out. It's March. Thank you.
Next up, we have Joshua Schmeitz, followed by Kenneth.
I'm Joshua Schmitz. I was born and raised here in Redlands. I wanted to just come up and talk about BP 5010. This community has had a horrible stigma of not protecting our most vulnerable people. We have paid out millions to predators who prey on our children, and yet we do not learn from our history. We are here talking about something that is going to affect, once again, the most vulnerable. We have a chance to stop it now. And directly to Ms. Renner, I grew up with you in my church every Sunday, and I saw you as a mother every Sunday. I know you have the heart and the mind to be able to stop this.
And 25 years ago, I sat on the dais as a Redlands High School representative. And I also remember for Civics Day, I was the superintendent. Now I pay taxes in Area 5 as a homeowner. I'm also a 17-year educator. And I'm here to say do not ban anything. Everything is a safe thing to learn in school. The places that are not safe are the street and the internet. I almost didn't make it here today. I felt some pressure to stay at work. But then I looked up at the wall and I saw the poster that was in the news this week. Everyone is welcome here. The Idaho teacher had to take it down under the words neutral context. Context neutral. And so I said, I have to try again. I told my boss, see that poster up there? Did you hear about it this week? She said, oh, I got it. Idaho, right? Idaho. No. Redlands. They're working for politically neutral classrooms. I might not be able to wear my black mathematician t-shirt here in Redlands Unified. And that will travel. I am here to say do not ban anything. Do not erase a holiday. Do not delete our history. Do not infringe upon our freedom of speech. Thank you.
Followed by Emily Suzanne.
My name's Phil Wilkie. I've got 3 kids in our USD. I used to work for the Redlands Police Department in the city of Redlands for over 10 years. And I'm tired of a vocal minority that's been pushing an agenda, and the reason why we're all here today. 75% of this district is not white, Christian, or conservative. So why are Olson and Wilson pushing policies that only serve their own narrow-line values? This isn't about protecting children, it's about pushing fear and silencing voices, erasing identities that make a few people uncomfortable. Banning books, restricting symbols, forced outings is not an education, it's authoritarianism dressed up as morality. It's Trump's new every child left behind policy. And I have to ask, how does any of this serve the district's goals? How does it raise test scores? How does banning a rainbow flag create a safe and supportive school? It doesn't. It's a political stunt that wastes time, erodes trust, and it harms kids. Not if you believe in the ideology. This is not leadership, it's cowardice. It's a power grab that people more interested in headlines than in the health of our schools. And our district should be focused on equity, achievement, and inclusion, not moral panic and manufactured outrage. Stop pretending that this is about values, it's about control, and we see through it.
Representation matters. Last week in the library, I read a book about the Hindi festival of Holi to my students. Holi is a festival that celebrates the return of spring, of new beginnings, a time to forgive past grievances and to focus on the love in our hearts for our family, friends, and the world around us. Most of my students were not familiar with this holiday, but one student exclaimed, "Mrs. Amatic, I celebrate Holi with my family. It's a Hindi festival." He instantly became my expert, and I asked him about the pronunciation of Holi and other words in the book. He also shared with us a little bit about how he and his family celebrate Holi. Representation matters. When I worked at Ladonia, Hispanic Heritage Month books and book displays were met with a lot of interest and excitement, as the majority of students of Ladonia are Hispanic. I had to restock my display every day as so many of the books were checked out. I had students tell me they were going to read their book with their grandma, or that the character in their book reminded them of their grandpa or their mom or dad.
representation matters. A colleague of mine who grew up when there were not many books with non-white characters shared with me that the first time she saw a book with a main character who had brown skin, she cried because she thought, oh my gosh, they look like me. Representation matters. This proposed policy that bans cultural heritage celebrations and flags is not good for our students. They need to see their families and their cultures represented. They need to know who our pride is valued.
Next up, we have Samantha Trav, followed by Jeff Hodge.
Hello, my name is Samantha Trad, and my daughter very much wanted to be here today, but she couldn't because she has school, like many others here. And I also had to take time off work to be here. In fact, I'm furious that we're here at all. My daughter wrote a statement that she asked me to read since she couldn't be here. I am furious that the school board is focused on this and not on policies that actually help students. My friends and I cannot even attend the meeting or make public comments because we have school. This is shameful. Her and her friends will be coming here after school because they want to know what you're discussing for the policy since they can't watch it. These policies will cost our schools millions of dollars. It's going to make Redlands look bad. It's going to hurt people, even people who don't have schools, who don't have students in our communities, because it's going to give us a bad reputation just like it did in Chino and Temecula. Redlands High School has one of the best speech and debate teams in the state of California, and you are continually having to cut funding from their speech and debate team. If you actually spend time trying to figure out how to fund programs like speech and debate, band, mock trial, other activities that make kids excited to go to school, you wouldn't have the attendance problem that you're having. You would have more money in the school, and you would be helping our students to thrive. Please focus on things that will actually help our schools and our students and won't drain our budget. And Michelle, you know me. You've known me since I was a little kid from church. Please sit down and have a conversation with me. Thank you.
Welcome, Jeff.
Speaking of inaccessible. Yep.
We can't have books about that now.
Good afternoon, board. I'm a proud of two graduates from Redlands Valley, and they went to Warren and to Benton Elementary. They're doing very successful work right now. I also taught in juvenile hall, San Benito County Superintendent of Schools. And some of the books that the kids eagerly used to learn how to read, that I don't think would survive any regular districts, libraries, especially if this policy is undertaken. What I do know for a simple fact is that librarians and parents and teachers combine their wisdom to make books individually enriched. And why you would change that? That wasn't on possibility. I do not know why you would even begin to consider getting rid of the wisdom that was informed everybody for so long, for so well. I know, Council Member Renfro, I sent you an email that has billions of dollars wasted by governments fighting cultural wars.
Thank you.
have Josephine Swanson, followed by Jan Andres.
Welcome, Josephine.
Good afternoon, board. Sorry. I didn't plan anything out because I wasn't actually planning to come here, but I knew that so many students wouldn't be able to come to this meeting, so I chose to be their voice. I attended RUSD schools for all of my K-12 education, and I'm about to graduate UC Riverside with a bachelor's in education and with concentration in social justice. So this is very important to me. I consider myself very grateful to have attended RUSD schools because of the amazing teachers and staff they have there, but that pride is beginning to waver. I was thinking about what I wanted to say, and I remember having a conversation in my AP US history class about whether Andrew Jackson was a good president or not. And I took the opportunity to educate someone about the Trail of Tears, where 4,000 Cherokee people died. Will students be able to have those conversations with your new plans? It doesn't seem like that to me. And it really just seems like a waste of money to be putting funds toward this when I had to sew my choir dress because they were so old, and my textbooks had incorrect facts because they were written before I was born. I was born in 2003 and my textbooks were from 1996. Like, that's not normal. This is what we should be spending our money on. I really urge you to listen to students, teachers, librarians in the community because they know what's really going on in our schools. And if you're really worried about what books kids are reading, I think you should be happy that kids are reading at all. Come on.
My name is Jan, and my daughter is a second grader in Redlands USD. She just got out of school today. I'm not there picking her up. I would much rather be with my kids than doing public speaking right now. But I am here as a witness and to witness you, to remind you that you've been delivered over 1,000 postcards, hundreds of emails, and many public comments already, asking you to reject the proposal to ban flags and observances and avoid these and other policies that will take money away from our schools and students. Your constituents have already spoken to you. Board Member Rendler, I live in your area. I want to thank you for the work you have done in the past. And I urge you and ask you to protect your legacy by continuing to speak for the students, all students, and their best interests by maintaining their access to diverse materials and their ability to feel seen and accepted in their schools. Bestfully, we will make sure you are remembered for the stance you take today and moving forward. Thank you.
Next up, we have Anita Rose, followed by Orchidea.
Welcome, Anita.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members and community members. My name is Anita Rhodes, and I'm here to represent many constituents here for Redlands Unified School District. These parents are pleased that Ms. Olson and Ms. Jeanette are here. They're pleased that there is a balanced view of opinions here. So I'm very glad that I'm here to help them let you guys know that. Ms. Rinder, we've noticed that you seem to vacillate back and forth. I want to tell all of you, be strong and very courageous. Don't cave to the pressure. There is a way that seems right to people, but the end result is devastating. Look at our children. They are sexually confused. They're self-mutilating. They don't know right from wrong. We are in a society where the values are turned upside down. What was once good 20 years ago, we've always been mortified. And now we find ourselves here promoting things that we know the end result is harmful to our children. So be strong, Ms. Riddler. Many people know you. You know the right values. Your legacy is important to you, obviously. Do what is right for these children. Time will tell. You know what's right. Please be strong to do it. There is a sovereign of the universe, whether you believe it or not, whether you call it karma, whether you call it God or not. That sovereign loves children and protects children. And he honors those who protect children and do what's right in his eyes for those children. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Arcadia. I'm a LD para, and I work with one of the most vulnerable communities, which is people that speak other languages. These children love to hear about their own communities because they're not as representative in their culture throughout the school system. Taking away these these books and banning them, you're taking away their identity, you are taking away their culture, you are taking away their rights. As an individual, banning those books that you guys are preparing to take away from these children is atrocious. We are a democratic society. We represent those people, not only the ELD students, but a variety of students. Because we're just not one thing. We are many. I want you to really understand what you are taking away. You're showing these students that they don't have the rights to defend themselves, that they don't have a voice in our community. Taking away those books, they're taking away the opportunity to learn something and how to critically use their voice, how to see the system that they're in place, how to fight the injustice that they see. Thank you.
Next up, we have Michael Grossman, followed by Deborah McFadden.
Members of the board and district administrators. I'm a 24-year resident of Redlands, currently residing in Trustee Area 2. Thank you, President Brumler, for your service. My children all attended public schools in Redlands, Ohio. Regarding the proposed flag ban, please listen for overwhelming community input and vote no on these draconian changes. It's time to return to the serious business of educating our kids. I see that AR 1312, complaints concerning instructional materials, is on the agenda for the workshop. Is our district considering banning books in our school libraries? Please be aware that other school districts have been seen shadow banning books targeted by right-wing influencers. These titles were removed from school libraries with no record of community complaints and no explanation. Any similar obvious and brazen attempt to circumvent state law regarding access to books for our kids should never happen in our district. Should this occur, rest assured, community members will detect, note, and report such changes. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, board. I'm Deborah McFadden, the mother of a 93 Redlands High School graduate, Hillary McFadden, who is now Hillary Giovanni, who has written a book called Becoming a Good Neighbor. She wrote it because she found out that my husband's family were slave owners and they also had taken land from indigenous people. And out of the hurt that she felt that our family had been part of that, she has spent years researching and writing a book. She hopes that maybe someday it will be a banned book because then it'll get notoriety. I'm also the mother of a son who is multiply handicapped and blind and in Redlands schools. And the school district helped him get into the school for the blind up north at cost. He has a very wonderful life despite his handicaps now, and it's because of public education. I'm also a woman who grew up in the South in the 50s and 60s, who was told by my school librarian I could not read Cry the Beloved Country, which is about South Africa. So I know from my living experience what happens when you try to ban things. Please let this district stay open and welcoming to people with disabilities, to people of other colors, to people of gender identity was raised as a fundamentalist child, so I know where some of you may be coming from, thinking that your way is the only way. Be careful.
We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm gonna upload it to YouTube probably, and I'll put it on YouTube. Yeah. It's not recording. They're not even checking like emails or comments.
Wait.
Yeah. This is the first time that that's happening. Here.
Yeah, I'll ask you.
Yeah. You did great. What do you do with the district map?
So I'm the interim assistant super for human resources.
Wow.
So just all the recruitment, hiring, some annual meeting. But, so I miss the kids though.
I know.
I don't know. I don't know who that is. Ah, and I never actually went to meet
Discussion between the 5 board members, and what we're looking for is direction so that you can direct me as superintendent on how to move forward with these policies with respect to the next step, which is to look at the language and ensure that our unions have had every opportunity to speak to it, which usually comes in the form of negotiations. We have our cabinet here to answer questions related to processes and or provide any kind of data needed. Because this is discussion between the board members, is not a collaborative discussion with the audience, we appreciate the audience opportunity to share their comments. I'm going to help make sure that the discussion stays within the board. And so I just want to say up front, should we have audience participation, I will do my best to ask you to not participate. However, if there's somebody who multiple times would like to participate in the form of making a comment and or applauding or booing or anything like that, we do have a workshop that we need to accomplish. And so I will ask you to leave if I feel like I've had to tell you more than a couple of times, maybe even after one time. We do want to be productive, and so I hope that we can do that. I'm just trying to make sure I say this up front. The last resort that we do, we cannot have a productive discussion because of audience participation, then we do have the ability to ask everybody to leave, and so that we can continue our discussion. And we, of course, do not want to do that. But I am going to help with that because I do want to make sure that we are able to have the discussion. Okay, the first policy, we'll just go in order of the agenda.
The first policy we're going to discuss is AR 1312Q2, a complaint concerning instructional material.
I think what we have in place now works. We went through this 2 years ago. Parents have the right to go on the app, on the website, and I think we're good. We don't need anything new.
Speak to this one.
All right, yeah, I don't like this pervasive pornography, erotica, graphic descriptions, or depictions of sexual violence, inappropriate vulgarity, or profanity, or other obscene material. Who gets to decide that? Because I assume it's us. We can't even agree on this policy, so how are we going to decide what's pervasive and obscene or vulgar? Because it even includes swear words. I mean, what are we talking here? What are we deeming a swear or a curse?
So what would you propose?
I propose that we change nothing. We have a policy in place. Why are we discussing what other parents get to decide for their own children? If I don't want my kid to read a book, I have that conversation with my child, I have that conversation with the library, and that is the end of it. We have policies in place, why are we discussing this?
Well, I don't see where you see swear words. Is that? Profanity, I see, inappropriate. Well, I'm in favor of this because as a community member, I went through our current procedures in trying to file a complaint about a particular book, and we found it to be very inefficient. It was very long and unwieldy, and I feel like the process should be made a little bit more smooth for parents to be able to file a complaint.
But a parent doesn't have to go through this. They can just say, I don't want my kid to read this.
They can opt out by saying, I don't want my student to
But there's no need for a process if a parent wants to restrict their own child.
Oh, so you're saying you do away with the complaint policy?
No, that's not.
We have a complaint policy in place. There's no reason for this.
Well, this is the complaint policy.
This is changing our complaint policy.
I'm just saying, kind of playing the devil's advocate here, why, well, if we don't need one, then why have one at all?
We have a complaint
No,
policy.
I know, but you said we don't need one.
We don't need to change it.
We're good, I'm good with what we have here.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't need any of this new stuff that someone brought up.
I don't mind my child reading profane language because she doesn't say it. She doesn't use it against others. I don't see the need, but again, what my definition of profane and your definition of profane is different. I consider this entire meeting to be profane because this is not our students. So
What I think this policy is trying to be is streamlining the way a book is challenged. So the author writes to challenge books, right? So this way is just trying to figure out a better process for that.
who says that this policy? Who says that this is better?
Well, this is what we're looking at. We're trying to think this would be a good idea to change the way the committee is formed, to change how many times it goes to the committee before it goes to the board, and what will go to the board. That's what I read when I read this.
So 2 years ago, we spent time working us, collaborated with the committee and a process. And I haven't heard since I've been here 2 years how many books have been back that we want, so I'm good, move on.
Do we not have librarians that we've hired to do just this?
They do their job. Our librarians who have been to
Does
the
our library not have any
job.
appropriate books?
Yeah, so what I asked 2 years ago is kind of what's in here now, asking for a different kind of committee. This committee says consists of 5 members, the principal, and 4 non-employee community members who will all read and review the books in question.
Okay, but it also says that if somebody appeals the committee's decision, it comes to the board, so what is the point of the committee if we're making it moot?
I know, that was another part, but then if they appeal it, they go to this other committee, district committee, that has other people on it, and then if they still want to appeal, then it goes to the board.
So then if we want to do, if we want to do it by committee, I say we keep the process that we have, where it goes to the school site, and then it goes to the district, and then we can do a committee, and then the board. But I don't understand why, I mean, if we're really being honest, if we want the community's input on this, it should end at a committee. This board is just putting forth policy where they unilaterally have a say in everything. Just like the boards before us have made decisions that they felt were in the best interest of all students, we have a responsibility to do the same. If we're not gonna do that, we have no business up here.
If we look at
move forward, because I think we need it in place for sexually obscene and overly graphic acts of sexual violence, erotica, just pervasive pornography, those type of books. I think that they should go through a different process that is more expedited. I think that a lot of people mention about parents being able to opt out. That's true, and that's great that we have that process, but many parents aren't aware of the books. There is literally millions of books out there, and the parents don't know. They can try to guess through different online sources of challenged books, but things that are age inappropriate should not be.
We don't have books in our library that are age inappropriate.
Excuse me, I'm speaking, thank you.
Oh, we're having a discussion.
Can I finish my sentence, please? I feel that society has age restrictions. We have age restrictions on almost everything that we do. We go to movies, we go to different clubs or events or restaurants versus bars. They have age restrictions. Things are, our society has deemed certain things age appropriate. There are guidelines that are appropriate. So there's no reason to say that books should be any different than movies or film or entertainment.
You have laws in place. Those restrictions and those guidelines that you're speaking of, those are laws. There's a reason you can't go to a bar unless you're under 21, or if you're under 21, because there are laws in place. There are laws in place for books.
I have always said, and 2 years ago when we were looking at this, my concern is sexually graphic and explicit material should not be anywhere in our public schools. I am emphatic about that, and I will.
Don't you see that that's a very slippery slope? Because if we want to be real about it, if there's a book that has a pregnant person in it, don't you think that that would be suggestive of sex?
No, I'm talking about sexually graphic and explicit stuff in the book. A pregnant
Who
woman
gets
is not
to decide that? Who gets to decide that? Is kissing?
That's what we need this committee for. Figure that out.
This policy overrides the committee.
No, there's a committee in place.
Michelle, we have a committee. It's gone. You were here 2 years ago. I see this. None. Move on.
Oh, okay, so what does this say to our librarians that have carefully selected these books? And again, this does not remove the ability for a parent to restrict. I mean, if we really want to talk about this, and if we really want to have this conversation, I mean, most of the book challenges that we have had were centered around what?
For me, it was sexual content.
Oh, no, the book challenges that we have gotten. What were they about?
Well, there was a couple of them were incest, some were transgender, most of them were sexually explicit.
Okay.
Sexual acts. Are you aware that I know there was at least one where a book was inappropriately placed in a middle school.
Yes, I do know that.
So it did get pulled.
It got moved to the appropriate age level.
But you're saying it's all perfect now. It's not.
I never said it was perfect.
You said.
What did I say?
That our libraries don't.
That we have a challenge policy in place.
She said something to the effect that our libraries don't have books in them that are inappropriate.
She said that are inappropriate, that are age inappropriate.
Yeah, not one.
There was one. How many books do we have in our library? Thousands, probably hundreds of thousands. One in hundreds of thousands. I think those are pretty good odds. And I mean, but that doesn't stop a child from bringing a book from home. And there have been situations where my own kids have, their peers have brought books from home that were inappropriate. That doesn't stop them from getting into our schools. That doesn't stop them from reading them on, are you aware of Wattpad?
So we're talking about, we have to make decisions about.
So where's the conversation about banning phones?
Okay, what I was saying is we're obligated to make decisions about the students when they're at school. We're not here to make decisions about what they do at home or what they bring to school, unless it's dangerous, obviously. So we need to not get into the weeds of things that we don't have jurisdiction over.
This whole policy is in the weeds. This is overreaching our jurisdiction. You know what? Okay. what is our role as a school board? I would like to have this conversation. Anyway, we have a workshop on this.
I'm ready to move on. Either it's gonna go or it's not gonna go on our, to vote on this.
So in order to set direction, there's two main questions. One is, as currently written, we need to have at least a majority of the board agree that we should have this as written, move forward. That's the direction you would give me as superintendent so that I can then have it given to.
And I wouldn't pass it as written. There's a lot of changes that need to be made there. So it has to be reversed.
Well, that's the point of this meeting. Can we have a discussion about those changes then?
Well, I was trying.
We're here for hours. Can we have this conversation? Because I want to keep dredging this out.
So, yeah, let's either we move.
Well, the second part I was gonna say is, if you don't want to do this one, then is there anything that you want to change that would be acceptable to at least the majority of the board? And so you would have to describe it that is, Michelle, and then we can ask the rest of the board.
I would like to see this committee that evaluates if there's a challenge be expanded. And with the principal, I like this, the principal, 4 non-employee community members who will all read. And then the decision will be reached within 3 months of the original date. And if the parent or guardian, whoever challenged the book, is not happy, it goes, and they appeal it, it will go to the next committee, which includes the assistant superintendent of ed services, the superintendent, let's see, who else? Oh, and then I said probably need to have a parent on there, on that one, maybe one parent on that one, and review it that way. The way we kind of reviewed in the past is a librarian and a teacher from the school, and the librarian's going to pick the book, so that's why
Because we pay them to be a professional in that field.
Yeah, but if someone's, questioning that, then it doesn't make sense to have that part of it.
Wouldn't you feel insulted if someone came and decided that they were an expert in the field of being a social worker, and they decided that they wanted to make decisions that on what you do for work?
Michelle, which changes would you like to suggest? Specifically.
So also put on that committee something in cabinet, because
Which number are you looking at?
that number 4.
Mr. Corral, can you explain what the policy is?
What we do right now, before, currently.
I'm gonna let Michelle finish answering.
Because of the materials can be on multiple sites, this should be led by. That's one thing I think. Yeah, on number 4.
Number 4 under section 1.
Yeah, the first.
Principal and 1 cabinet member?
And the 4 employees.
That's fine.
Yeah, just to add that other level. And then in the back, you cross out a bunch of, on the thing they fill out, the person who's challenging, like the request received, but I think you need to know who it was received by.
Yeah, that's in there.
Because on my copy, it's crossed out. I think that's important, you know.
No,
It's on the,
Oh, I think it's on that.
Right, yeah. Date, complaint received by, so it's right there.
Oh, you moved it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that, I'm sorry. Okay. And then let's see.
So I'm sorry, I missed, what was it on number 4 that you wanted?
Adding in a cabinet level member,
To the principals?
because they can be at different full size that book, even though it's challenged at that one. And then in number 8, if we're doing this, on number 8, it has to look at oh, the district review committee shall be appointed by the superintendent for daily meeting. or denied by the board. So the board should be approving it at number 6. I mean, like, maybe that's too many steps. Because if they go through one committee, then they go through another committee, and then to the board. And if the board has the final say, maybe number 6 isn't needed.
Okay. That's how the policy is currently. They have when previous book challenges have already been submitted, there's the first committee, and then it was like an appeals committee. So it doesn't matter to me if we want to skip a step, but that's how the policy currently is.
Oh, okay, well, that's fine, if everybody's okay with reading it like that, the committee. And there's just some wording that needs to be changed in here, like, complaints regarding, on the first page, regarding the appropriateness of library or reading material, doesn't speak to the media material that we have in our library. Doesn't speak to any of that.
So
What
let's
sort of media material? Just have books.
so suggest what you would.
Yeah, don't we have firewalls and guards and, I mean, don't we have things in place for things like that as it is?
Well, I don't know if some libraries have tapes to check out, you know, like that kind of DVDs or whatever, if they still have that kind of stuff.
That would still be materials.
Yeah, but it says something about library books.
That's why I asked Mr. Cabral to actually one.
Yeah, we do have firewalls with respect to anything online. Media would be considered like anything that the library would check out, maybe an audio book. Would that be considered a library book? Probably. Our current process, is to answer your question, is what we've been following is if somebody has a complaint about a book, we get a committee together at the school site and the committee reads the book and then the committee makes a decision. They can appeal that decision, then it goes to the district. The district then puts a committee together. That committee then reads the book and makes a decision. And then that decision is final. That's the process we follow.
It can be brought to the board still.
The board can decide to look at it, but it's not a requirement for it to be taken to the board currently.
Every time you request that.
Even if they request it, the board can decide to look at it, or it can decide to let the committee's decision stand. So the board currently would not necessarily see the committee's work currently.
And the site consists of librarian.
Typically, the librarian, the principal.
That apparently we don't want on the
teacher.
committee.
Yeah, good.
Well, the librarian, typically, teacher, parent many times. We've been criticized for having parents that are also employees, so that is true. Sometimes the parents are also employees, but that they sit on the committee as a parent. District committee, same thing. We typically will get a different person. It won't be the same committee as the school site.
Just because someone's an employee, because apparently you just said we're being criticized for having a parent that's also an employee. So if we have an employee that's also a parent, they're not allowed to participate?
It's because of conflict of interest.
Just because they are an employee of the district doesn't mean that they agree with the material, correct?
It's not it's not some, like, you can still participate as a parent if you're a staff member. All I said is there's been criticism about.
No, and I understand that, so to erase that criticism, we would not allow parents that are staff.
No, we have still allowed parents who are staff.
It should be because they're a parent and an employee. It should not be criticized or condemned. It should be able to have their vote like anybody else. Or we're going to lose them, they're going to go to another district just so they can vote here. We don't want to lose our employees. We don't want to lose
The only
parents.
thing I'm gonna agree to is that if we really are serious about warning parents about possible material that their kids might check out once they get to, I don't know, high school. I mean, our kids are encouraged to read more nonfiction books, correct? I mean, that's what the goal is. They're reading about plants and animals. So they're not reading anything vulgar. But you know what? If we really want to be serious about advising parents more than we already are, can we add something to our data confirmation in areas, just letting them know, hey, they're I approve my child to read controversial topics in our library. Do I acknowledge this or do I not? And then that does something to when they want to go check out a book in the library?
The short answer is yes, there's ability to do a lot of things in areas where a parent is able to check, the box.
But why are we making decisions for everyone's child when it really only matters for our own children?
That's my point, why are we discussing this now? Like I said in the beginning, leave what we have that we worked on 2 years ago.
I would like to do this number 4, at least to beef up that committee a little bit. I think that should be changing, especially for parents who are questioning the book. And maybe they're interested.
The app, the app, the Destiny Discover app, which you can put. One of our librarians just told us that today.
Okay, so then we say we agree with committee. Okay, but this allows someone to appeal the committee's decision. We're just adding another step.
The original policy allows for them to appeal. Yes, I'm saying that first committee.
She's adding a cabinet member.
Needs to be cabinet member, principal, 4 non-employee community members. So you can get a well-rounded, people wanting to.
So then are we crossing out everything but number 4?
No, I'm saying that is an important part to me, so.
Regarding your complaints regarding the appropriateness of library or reading material, why don't we just say library or other material? Do you want to just put other instead of reading? So that would include audiobooks or things of that nature.
What are you referring to? What number?
Michelle had mentioned that the second paragraph under the first page.
All right, we're going to do this then. I want, however, questionable content is being challenged due to pervasive pornography, erotic, graphic descriptions of sexual acts, sexual violence, inappropriate vulgarity, or profanity, or obscene material. Skip to section 2 of the process listed below. I want all of that stricken. Because if we're being serious about this, the parents shouldn't have a reason to challenge a book. I mean, if they don't like a book, they don't like a book, they should be able to challenge it.
Oh, you're saying the difference between the first part and the second part? Is that what your issue is?
Where it says, however, questionable content is being challenged due to pervasive pornography or erotica, graphic descriptions of sexual acts, I don't want that in the policy.
Okay, well, it's harmful to children. So that's the idea, is to protect children's innocence.
You don't get to dictate my child's innocence.
You're welcome to rent whatever you want from the store, the local library. You can read to your kids whatever you want. This doesn't mean we have to offer age-inappropriate content to them.
Nothing in our schools is age-inappropriate.
Well, I can read to you. There is stuff in there.
Experiences of sexual abuse, rape, and violence are not pornographic.
William Long.
Have you ever?
I clearly disagree with you, so.
And that's fine.
I mean, can we just agree to disagree?
No, we
I
can't,
disagree with
because this is affecting children's
I don't
lives.
think describing a father getting into his 3-year-old's diaper and seeing whether or not his private fits in there or not is appropriate. You can get across the concept of empathy and
Make it seem like we
experience.
have second graders reading this.
I'm just telling you, there's certain content that's not appropriate.
I will agree that there is content out there that is rather harsh for people to read. And it's uncomfortable, and it's meant to make you feel uncomfortable. Because the sad reality is this is a very true reality for a lot of people. If you only ever read that there is happiness and sunshine out there, you're never going to be prepared for the real horrors that go on in the world. Why would you, take away the opportunity for a student to read about something and have it affect them in a way, not in a positive way, but in a moving way, to read about someone else's experience? Maybe it offers reflection into their own lives. Maybe it helps them identify, as that person that came up and said. If someone can read something and see it in the phrase that, you know what, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't seem okay, but this is something that happens to me.
No, I agree with all of that, except I just don't.
But you don't want it in our libraries.
No, if it was clean and talked about the experience without the sexual graphic nature, then that would be fine. There's no reason to have to describe certain bodily fluids and different sexual acts in extreme graphic descriptions in order to get across the concept of empathy or a personal experience. I think those books are good for the point, but they don't have to include extremely graphic scenes. It doesn't serve any purpose.
Don't you also realize at the same time where you are making something in this district taboo, someone with ill intention, a really bad person, could actually be like, hey, you know what? This is something, your teachers, your school, your district doesn't want you to read. Let me show it to you. It's creating secrets.
I don't think our teachers would do that.
I didn't say our teachers would, but I said a bad person.
You mean like a relative or?
A bad person. I don't know who they are.
I'll still just stand by what I say. I don't think anything sexually explicit and all that needs to be in the schools. If parents want their kids to be able to read that, and if they're okay with that, they can find it other ways.
What other ways? What other ways?
Kids are finding it on their phone, they can go to the public library.
So you're okay with them having it on their phones, just not?
No, their phone has nothing to do with me. I can't use the phone. I cannot say what's on their phone. That's not my decision.
You can ban phones.
If you have phones at school, it's not my decision what they do when they go home. If they want to read that in their home, that's their decision.
And if a student is looking at something on their phone on school property, is that not our problem?
I didn't find out about all that. And that's what we're going to talk about people from the stuff we use too.
So, Mr. Cabral, how many incidents have we had since we had this policy 2 years ago?
There was a time period where there was up to, I think, 15 challenge books.
Were those all parents?
They're parents / community members, I don't know exactly. I would say at least community members. And they went through the process, and one of both was moved from middle school to high school, and I believe the other books were all allowed to stay. Yeah, there's an elementary book.
And the rest were allowed to stay, correct?
But I would say that some of those were allowed to stay because of who was on the
You think that they paid them?
No.
Well, how can you say that they were because of who they are?
I find this odd that you're bringing this up because this has never been something that you brought up before.
Years ago, you guys, I remember that.
No, you have not. You've said that you wanted to expand on the committee. You have never was it the same committee every time? Was it the same committee every time? It was not.
Because it's on site, it's sites, not to the committees at the time. The schools get to pick.
Different schools, different committees.
Yes, it wasn't the same people all the time.
No, I'm just saying it was always a librarian, a teacher, and a parent. I'm asking to put in there that we add in another layer, and maybe take the librarian out of it because they're the I don't know. I'm not
They're like, why have librarians if they can't do their job?
I think that's actually really upsetting to suggest that our librarians are not trustworthy because they put the material in there. They do put every piece of material in our libraries.
But just my thought that maybe changing that up a bit would help some parents who are questioning some of the books. Maybe that would make them go, oh, well, now.
Then let's expand on the committee, not remove people from the committee.
Okay, all right, so.
To add a cabinet member.
And so
that is the only thing that I would do and change on this form. So you're saying that if we just do that one, you're good with this to keep and get rid of everything else that was submitted?
Except for the sexually explicit.
No, we should get rid of that. We were fine for 2 years, and then all of a sudden it's brought up
You're
again.
going to find a lot lower than 2 years. Any of these materials are the exact same materials anybody that went through public education had absolute access to.
So if we're not going to put that portion in there about sexually explicit stuff, we need to do something for the parent piece where they can go in and get their name on that list or however we're doing it to make it so they can, so their kids can't check that out if they don't want them to.
They already have that access.
So we need to make sure it's working.
Of course, it's working if the parents utilize what they can do. Okay. They already have the access to do that, correct? Yeah, I want to add it to the data confirmation. I want to add it to the data confirmation that we have, that parents have to sign it and acknowledge that there are materials of a sensitive nature that may not, be aligned with everyone's beliefs and values, and that you acknowledge.
Maybe doing that would make the parents go and look at the list. So they maybe should go check it out.
There are lists made by the board. Parents.
Well, you guys visited our libraries.
Just to clarify, if we have anybody can give us a list of names of books that we can add to the list. Like, if we, that part, I think anybody can participate, including this board. The board has a list of books that they feel need to be on some list that parents need to be made aware of.
You can Google, Google is free. You can Google, no, absolutely, but you can Google any, list that you want, whether, it's controversial books, banned books, books in public libraries that are sexually explicit. If you want to do that, you can do that.
So possibly by signing something in the data confirmation, when you first fill all that out, signing it alerts parents to the fact that, oh, I need to be aware of this, I need to know.
I'm not trying to take rights away from parents, but what I am trying to do is make sure that a decision by this board doesn't affect people who don't want it.
And I guarantee you those parents aren't gonna know what they're signing anyway. So they're gonna do it, they're gonna go through, and they're fine. I don't think someone's gonna sit there and go over 1,800 at this particular school book that they're doing it. Because they're in public education and they believe what is being taught by our teachers. They know it's great.
One or two parents have to all want to go look at that list, right? They can do that now. That's what we're trying to do. They can do that now.
Michelle, they can do
The other
that
thing
now.
that happens today that a parent can do is they can simply tell the school that they don't want any books checked out, unless it goes to the parent first. They mark, even if the student goes to the library and wants to pull a book to read during lunch, for example, the librarian can have something in the system that says anytime the child pulls a book, they can let the parent know what the book is. That, they have the ability to do that right now.
I would like something that if a parent, yes, you know what, we can do that, and a child can, request a book, but I want something sent to the parent, like an email, sent to the parent saying, your kid is requesting this book, please approve or disapprove. For the ones who request that.
It is
Thank you.
So can we agree that maybe changing that committee or adding to that committee?
I'll add to the committee, I'll not remove people.
Okay.
That was the only thing that I would put on this whole policy that was brought up. That's it. The rest is all deleted.
Okay,
This is where we are.
Okay, so on that part,
So let's say the principal and a cabinet member shall appoint school development. That's it. So just a cabinet member, and you already have the principal, you have the librarian.
We're talking about two different things though, because the one that you're looking at, if you look at number 4, that number 4 is not the same as the number 4 in the original policy. So we just need to clarify which number 4 we're talking about.
So I'm going to clarify and put what we have in place currently. That was scratched out. Principal shall appoint a school development committee consisting of the librarian, a cabinet member, principal.
It actually doesn't say that. It says 4 certificated staff members. And so
Okay, so we're adding the
proposed
names.
language says 4 non-employee community members.
Yeah.
Can we do, if we're not trusting the librarian to put it there, can we do an off-site librarian?
different site.
Yep. An off-site librarian. Why don't you just leave them we have?
on site.
Because I want to preserve the integrity of our librarians. Because if there's gonna be an accusation, excuse me, if there's gonna be an accusation that our librarians are biased because they put the book there, I would like to remove that bias.
We should be grateful and thankful for our librarians.
Sure.
Yeah. They work hard, just get better for us.
I don't say librarians, none of the policies say librarians. It says certificate.
I would like to add that it says, yeah, I would like to add an off-site librarian.
So, off-site librarian cabinet and 4 non-employee committee members?
Where's the parent on here?
4 other members.
Okay, let's put a parent in there.
So you're back to this original policy we're working on.
Yes.
So
It's kind of a mix right now.
number 4, yeah. So
The one that I just heard is the new one.
What you proposed, Candy, we're scratching and going with the original that we have.
Really?
Yes, we are.
Is that right, Michelle?
If we can change this number 4, and it doesn't seem like it can be.
All of those books that were challenged are all in the library still because of our policy.
Because multiple people have decided that they have educational merit.
There's a whole bunch of elementary books that we've discovered as well, which we're not happy about. So we need
Excuse
to
me,
do a policy.
if you're gonna allege that there's books that, we are not happy about, I wanna hear what these books are.
I'll get you a list later.
No, I want it now. We're having this discussion now. I don't wanna drag this out.
Yeah, I can describe the book. There's one book at the elementary that describes using
Cannabinoids?
CBD gummies, which we became aware of maybe a week ago.
What is the use of CBD for?
According to the book, anxiety.
We have children in this district that are using CBD to help treat anxiety.
I did not find one. I asked 10 adults, very softball, nobody knew of them.
But that doesn't mean that they aren't.
That's why I said softball. I'm just giving you an example of one book that was identified about a week ago that's in our elementary libraries that describes using CBD gummies.
We don't teach religion either, but we have books about them. Correct?
Religion, I think, is part of history, yes.
I think part of the problem too is that our policies end up having to cover K through 12. And there's a vast difference between what you might be concerned about with a K-1-2 student than a high school student. And that's why I think our parents need to have an avenue to have certain things looked at. And on top of that, I don't think it's always the same librarian every year that put the book there. So, I mean.
Exchange.
Right.
Life changes.
Right.
So.
And parents become more aware, parents have become more aware of things that they should have been paying attention to prior to this. So I'm kind of confused with what you were saying, Juan, about, we can put something in Aries for parents to sign off on.
I was trying to describe it as if I'm a parent and I don't want my child to check out any books from the library without my knowledge. Then you would have the ability to go to the school, let the school know, and then we can put in Aries like a tag so that when the librarian or whoever's in the library checking out books pulls up Fonk Raw has a tag that says you need to notify the parent.
Parent will required before they check out a book.
I think that's what I was describing is that's something that we can do and we are currently doing where a parent can have that ability to let us know. And if you ask me how many are doing it right now, I could probably find at least one, but it is possible to do that.
And to what Melissa talking about in the data confirmation, you know what that is in Aries, when you register, when you sign up your kids every year, you have to fill out, there's things like, they can photographic kids and all that, different things, and she's just suggesting put that in there too. So, just another level.
Yeah, there's things you have to read in the student handbook. You have to read about insurance. You have to read about, having the ability to photograph our children, dance contracts. There's a lot of things in there that parents are required to read and acknowledge. So this should be beneficial to parents that we are making them aware that there are questionable materials that might be sensitive to some people.
Like if you want to see a movie and you don't want your child to see the movie, you can out and over the movie, opt them out.
Okay, so, moving forward, are we okay with just increasing that committee, giving a more rounded committee? Are you okay with that?
No, and getting rid of the whole second section.
Did you write this?
I was a participant in writing it.
I'll prove this, because it was not this board. I'm sorry?
We all develop things from either other people, other policies, ChatGPT. I mean, that's
What was he born out of? We have policies in place. The reason we're having this conversation is because you don't like the policy.
right.
You're gonna have to come to me where the problem is. I don't find this funny.
Problem is that there's sexually explicit or overly graphic, problematic.
How many books?
At least 9 that I'm aware of.
In how many hundreds of thousands of books?
Is one okay? I mean, how many is okay? I don't think we should be providing.
Remember this conversation when we're having the conversation about notification? Because if it hurts one, is that okay?
Okay, let's stay on policy. I know.
Yes, we all did a really good piece. Let us discuss.
We need a policy in place. We need to edit the policy in order to protect the kids from the books that are currently still in there. So there's extremely graphic material, some material, not a ton of it, but there's some in there that are age inappropriate. And if we don't have that second portion of the policy added, it will remain exactly as it is right now. And I had assumed that you didn't like those books in our libraries. So that's what I've heard you say before. So I think we should keep the second part.
Okay, written like it is.
I disagree.
We can change what you said there. I have no problem with changing to other on that one part where to include all material, and then also on number 4, adding one cabinet member. No problem with that.
I think the more transparent thing would be to be more upfront about it, like in Aries, so that everybody who has a child in this district has the opportunity to acknowledge that these materials are here, and that the decision that Kelly makes for her child do not affect the decision I make for my child.
I do think if we put it in the confirmation, that's a really good idea.
We can do both.
So, once again, President Rendler, I'm saying, going back to the original, leave as it is, what we had in place, by adding on 4 the people that we said, and disregard all the other stuff, all the other garbage that was submitted.
Okay, but where in here do we get to speak to the sexually graphic books? There's nothing in the old policy that speaks to it.
So what is your recommendation? Because I clearly know theirs.
Well, adding to that committee, like I said, and
We've established.
I would like to, I don't know if it's covered in here, the sexual content is actually covered in here, because if someone's complaining about that, it's gonna go through the process. So I don't know.
So then it doesn't need to be in there because.
I don't know, because.
It speeds up, section 2 speeds up the review process.
Maybe we need to speed it up. Don't we want to be thorough?
Sexual or graphic nature, it puts it into a different category.
Do we need to be thorough about this? Are we paying the community members that sit on this committee?
I think we did.
Do pay the committee members, not the community members, excuse me. I know we
to
paid
verify.
certificated staff and, you know.
I think, because we had to do some reading over Christmas break, and I think we ended up paying.
So if we are going to have community members and parents that are not staff, are we prepared to pay them?
Aaron, I don't want to spend any money, but we would spend it.
I think we could find volunteers to volunteer to do it for free.
Where in this policy can we put in this parse out the sexual stuff, vulgarity, the sexual violence?
But then I want exact language.
Where can we put that?
I know where it can be put, but what I want to know is I want exact language.
It's section 2, that's where we put it.
But Melissa, you're saying you're not okay with what's written in the description?
Because I don't know what other people would consider erotica. I don't know what turns them on. Why am I supposed to define that?
Are we okay if we just say inappropriate
I'm only going to say questionable materials.
I'm not saying anything, but just keep in mind, it's been 2 years and we haven't had how many complaints that I think the people that spoke was Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Wilson who came and spoke on those, the parents I remember. And maybe a couple other people, but I don't remember all the other parents coming in and saying anything. I think we have was fine.
Just because there haven't been recent complaints doesn't mean people in our community agree. When we ran 8 or 9 books through a formal process, and all of them remain in our library except for the ones we discussed, there's clearly a problem, and there's no reason to continue with book challenges if they're all going to be denied. So that's why I haven't heard anything for 2 years.
They get discouraged, or they just stop reading, or?
Clearly, it wasn't the proper process because the content was not appropriate. And so the community does not feel that, okay, it's fine, but they see that the process continues the same exact way regardless of the book. So why would anyone continue wasting their time going through this 8-step process?
I don't think this is a waste of time.
It was just anyways, that's not the point. The point is the policy.
Alleged bacterial includes pervasive pornography, erotica, sexually graphic descriptions or depictions of sexual acts, sexual violence, or inappropriate sexuality, other obscene material in the process of section 2. Or have that above number 4, because maybe it needs to go to that first, even if it's sexual content.
So then, what are we calling vulgarity here?
Well, I'm just pulling out some of the words.
No, I understand that, but that's what I'm saying, like, this is very vague. So someone can decide that they don't like witchcraft, that's not included in here.
That would go through the first step. If they didn't like witchcraft, then it would go through the first section. And they could complain, and then they would go through the standard. It was just for material that was deemed harmful to children, that there would be a more expedited process. That's the idea. And I don't mind if we remove the word erotica. It's fine with me. I don't care if we can remove that because pervasive pornography should include that. That may be good with that. Wanted to remove the word erotica, right?
No, because I don't like, if it's describing an act of violence against someone, why are we toning that down?
Well, keeping graphic descriptions of depictions of
Sexual violence.
So are we asking anybody that experiences sexual violence to tone down their experience?
Just the graphic part.
But wait, but when someone, and we're kind of straying here, but when someone goes to court and they have to testify to the assault that's happened to them, or even to the police, or even to their doctor, they have to describe in graphic detail exactly what happened to them.
Those are to adults that you're speaking of, it's not to children.
It is done by children as well.
I disagree with you, I'm sorry. I don't think children at age 12, 13 need to have a graphic description of sexual violence. They can learn about sexual violence in a non-graphic way. For example, the movie The Sound of Freedom was a really great movie that had a lot of tears. People were empathetic. They could understand the main point of the movie. It was a wonderful story to bring awareness to sexual trafficking of children, yet it had no graphic descriptions of sex in that movie. And that is how I would wish for our books to be. I would like sensitive subjects to be available, especially for kids suffering through incest or rape or whatever the tragedy may be. I think it's important. The part that I don't want is the graphic nature. So if a book has incredibly graphic sexual descriptions, I don't think that that's appropriate.
Okay, fine. Can we slap a graphic sticker on a book then?
I'm thinking yes.
Because that'll solve this problem, right?
What's going to be graphic there?
I don't know, we're playing with words over here, so we'll just...
I don't think that's going to help anything. What's going to say what is graphic, what is it? My interpretation may be different to yours or hers or...
I mean, that's what it all comes down to. The differences in people's opinion is going to eventually be decided by a committee.
The difference is that they are trying to remove graphic books. I think they need to stay. So if identifying them as graphic is the only way they can stay, then they stay.
I said scratch that whole paragraph. Mrs. Remmer?
I still would like to put in there somewhere up there about pornography, graphic descriptions of depictions of sexual acts, violence, or other questionable material. I'd like to see that that is the most of what someone's going to complain about the book is about. That's going to be the highest amount of like is going to be for that reason. And we'll get the occasional one or two, the witchcraft thing, we'll get maybe the CBD, we'll get those. But this is going to be the majority of books.
I don't see why we need to put that in there.
What's the problem with having it in, even though you don't see the need for it to be in?
Because parents can make their own decision on what the students want to read. I don't think you have to put pervasive pornography, erotic, and graphic descriptions. Now you're making it pornographic. Now you're making it erotic. Now you're making it like, oh, this is maybe I want to read this book. If I do that, just go.
So the good reason, the good advantage of having a section 2 is to remove the book while it's under review. Just in case you didn't notice that, Michelle. One of the advantages to having this section 2 is it's deemed that it could be harmful to children. Then the book is, I'm not sure if you read through these, so it's pulled while the decision is being made. So if something is potentially harmful to a child, you wouldn't want to just leave it there while it's under discussion or review. You would take it, review it, it goes back or it doesn't. Because, and if you only stick to the section 1, that's not part of the process. Because it's not harmful to a child. It just may be some content that a parent is, for example, witchcraft or whatnot.
I don't understand who gets to decide if it's harmful.
The person making the complaint has decided that it may be harmful.
I think this entire conversation is harmful.
cabinet member, what else would you like to change?
So in section 2, maybe make it a little more simple instead of putting all of them in there. That material includes pornography.
Questionable or graphic, that's it.
Would you like it to say?
No. I mean, I would like to keep the descriptions of depictions of sexual acts, sexual violence, or sexual violence. I think that's important.
I think so too.
Graphic description. And then
So,
section 2.
help me understand something really quick. So if a book has a complaint against it, we pull it. We've given restricted access to that book. And even though, I mean, someone could make a complaint about a book, is there anything restricting how many times they make a complaint against a certain book? So hypothetically, if someone, and I honestly, I think this should be restricted to parents as well, because it's directly their child that's being affected. But if I'm a parent and I want to complain about the push, it gets removed. I've thus accomplished my goal of getting it removed from the library.
Well, then they're going to go over, the committee's going to do their thing. If the committee deems it's okay and it goes on, the committee is.
So I've effectively removed it for how many months? The school year?
No, because it would follow the second process, Michelle.
Oh, they're going to be longer.
No, shorter, much
Oh,
shorter.
it's shorter because it's only.
That's,
Okay.
that's right. The idea is to hasten the process instead of like the previous challenge books was like a year, over a year. Yeah. So the book will be back in no time if it gets approved to go back on the shelf.
I think it might be helpful to describe what this says really quick, because there's two different processes. So if you take a book like the CBD book that I just described, as written, even with the changes that you described, Michelle, proposed, thank you, it would get reviewed by a committee. In this case, it would be a committee that the cabinet and principal would put together. Then if that committee feels like it's okay, then the person putting the complaint then can appeal that. Okay, that appeal then should be reviewed by a district committee. Okay, and that is made up here. And I heard you say earlier you wanted to add a parent to that. Okay, if that committee says the book is okay, the person complaining can still appeal it to the board. That's where number 8 then comes in, where the board ultimately gets to decide whether this CBD book is okay or not. And that's that first part. That's very different than the original part, where the board ultimately did get to see it. Okay? The bottom part is, I'll use the book push. Push has some descriptive pages, or I think there's paragraphs, I would use paragraphs, that are graphic, okay, describing sexual acts. If a parent...
Sexual assault.
Thank you. If a parent were to complain about that book would be pulled, okay? It would not go to a committee. The book would then, we would let the board know that this book is being challenged, and ultimately the board would see whether or not that book was okay. This section does not call for there to be a committee. So there's a significant difference between both sections, which is, I just wanted to make sure to clarify.
I would think maybe that needs a committee.
Can we enter that as a committee?
Well, it also does give the board, with the book, a look over in terms of what educational level it may be deemed appropriate for and what levels not, or even particular schools, like how push was at Orangewood.
But I think that also goes back to that committee that we just added people to, or the district committee. I don't know that the board is qualified to make those decisions. I mean, I know what I would do for my kids, but.
Technically, currently, and with this process, with the new process, proposed process, current process, anybody in the community and or parent can use their own definition of why they think it's inappropriate. And they can put a complaint on any book. And they are allowed to describe why they think it's inappropriate. So they get to use their own definition of why it's inappropriate. Then it goes through a committee currently. And the committee will actually, first it goes to the principal, and the principal has that have a conversation with that person to see if they can have an understanding as to why it's not inappropriate. But if they're not satisfied with that, then it goes to the committee. I guess my point in bringing this up is whatever process we have, ultimately, the person who does not want the book can use their own definition of what they think the reason it's inappropriate. Then it would go through the process to see if the school district agrees or disagrees with that person.
I don't know that I agree that the book should be removed while it's being challenged. It doesn't seem right. It's not right.
If you think something might be harmful to children, then it seems right, and you could, if a parent wants to read that particular book, they can go to the local library and check it out for free.
And that would be under the assumption that everyone has accessibility to the public library. No, they do not.
Well, I think the more people would have access to know how to Google something.
Did you know that the public library do all students that go to school in Redlands Unified, do they all live in Redlands? Anybody? No. So the library, we can laugh all we want, I'm trying to have a conversation. You're scoffing.
Right, because of course we know that the school district covers more than one city.
Okay, so the local library, Smiley Public Library, is only free to get a library card if you are a resident of Redlands. Yes, but are we driving them there? Are we giving them access to that?
Okay, I have a question. So the guidelines for the committee, the written guidelines, right, what they're looking at, can this part be put in there?
Yes, I mean, the process can come through the APR, and the board can help us with that, yes.
Okay, so that's all in there. Wasn't looking at the book.
I don't agree. It needs to come to the board, because we're the gatekeeper.
You're not the gatekeeper for my child's education.
I'm not saying that I am. You are. No, I'm not. The committees cannot prove to, I mean, they denied all of these books.
That's why I'm asking to extend it.
There's different
This
ways.
section, there's nothing wrong with this section. It will, instead of pushing it on to somebody else to have to determine that, it makes it very simple.
I can tell you how those conversations are going to go exactly like this one. And being that there is no consensus among this board, I don't think the board should have a say in these challenges.
I'm concerned that my definition and what I think is practically descriptive of a sexual act is way different than somebody else's. I have my own beliefs on what I don't want to say, right? Everybody has their beliefs, so everybody's level is different. So if we put this in with the committee is the overseer of when somebody complains about a book.
If the committees had thought that the book was sexually graphic or inappropriate, then they wouldn't have approved, they wouldn't have denied the challenge. So obviously the books that were inappropriate and graphic, the committee will still approve it because they did before.
Well, that's why I think it should be different than it was here.
They're going to think differently
And
now.
I didn't agree with the way that committee was put together. So these are for parents, could be, mental health person in the community, I don't know, 4 different people. The librarian is there, the principal is there, and the cabinet member. So I think it will be a little bit different.
What I want to know is if the committee deems it appropriate, are we going to keep doing this? Because clearly the last committees, and they were all different, came up to 15 different determinations, and we apparently just don't like the results of those. So what are we going to keep doing this over and over and over again? There needs to be a final say, and I don't think it should be the board.
I would just like to make sure this section is in the guidelines, what the committee is going to be looking at when they're reading these books. I think that's an important part of it.
I would like to see those guidelines.
And I'd like to see, like I said, I'm gonna go back to the original, we got section 2, scratch. Period.
And I would be okay if that part could be put in the guidelines for the committee.
So you're okay
I would be okay with that.
if, say exactly what it is, that you would be okay with, if you go back to the original page 1, or what we had.
Well, the new committees are different than here. It's just different. Yeah. This one, I like this one, adding more.
This one meaning what?
The proposed change.
Okay.
Of 1.
Yeah.
And then
I
section
disagree.
2, the section 2 part is put in there, that.
I disagree.
Well, you and I have had many conversations on how we don't agree with what our children read the same materials. Do you not understand that this is going to affect my child and you're agreeing with that? I am respecting you enough to have your opinion and to allow you to restrict what you want your family to read, and that's fine. Like, that doesn't bother me. It's when it starts to affect my child.
If somebody complains about it, or they think it's over-sexual.
That's what they think.
And they want to have somebody review it, to look at it, so they ask the committee to review it. Committee says, okay, we don't agree with you, whatever. They go on to the second one, which is the district committee. And then the district committee says, no, we're okay, whatever. And then, don't they still have a chance to get it approved or denied by the board? I mean, that'd be clearly on 8.
So we go through 3 processes before the board decides to toss out all those previous decisions and make their own determination.
That's the way this is written.
That's how the original was too. It
had the board to make the final decision.
And then the district, and then.
And how many of those challenges actually got all the way to us?
That's what I asked.
None.
We had 0.
Yeah.
So why change, Michelle?
It's not changing, it's already written down number 8. There's already
No, you just said that you wanted all this in red, all the new stuff.
Yeah, to expand on these a little bit. There's nothing.
The only thing that I would even consider expanding was 4, where we would add a capital, that's it. Not a 3, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, and this whole section 2 scratched.
We're never going to come to a consensus on this.
Part of this is basically the same, it's saying the same thing, it's just worded more, like that.
And I say no. I
Why do we
disagree.
need to put it in, why do we need to include that? Like, you don't have to have a reason to challenge a book. I mean, you want to challenge whatever, challenge whatever.
Well, that's
Put your reasoning in the complaint.
That's why I'm asking if this can be put in the paper that the committee.
But the reasoning should be in the complaint.
Yeah, but maybe guidelines on what they're.
I don't think we have that either. It was just.
We did. Mr. Cabral?
Guidelines that are described here.
That the committees have some kind of guidelines of how they were making a decision.
Yes.
Yes.
They would meet, well, they don't have to read the book, and they would come together and meet and decide whether or not it met what they felt were the guidelines appropriate, the context, it was meaningful, it would serve a purpose, etc.
So it didn't have.
And I would like to.
It didn't have that part.
I would like to put that in.
So then can we review those guidelines? If we're gonna keep talking about this, then can we review those guidelines?
I don't know that I can have them right now, I have to get them, but yes. There's two different things, the one is policy, and we set policy, and the board can, help with how it's carried out, as far as like, that would be my role, but if that's a recommendation from the board to include this type of language in guidelines, then we could do that, yes.
What do you think about putting that into the guidelines? Well, I think we should do the guidelines. Taking it out of this policy, putting it in the guidelines so that the committee knows what they're looking at, like they know what they need to be looking at. If it's in the guidelines.
I'm okay with that. I'm like having the expedited process when the book is fully temporarily.
I mean, maybe we can have to put that in the guidelines. No? Expedited.
Why are we pulling the book while it's being reviewed? So I can pull 50 books if I wanted to, if I want to make 50 complaints. That's restricting access. No, that's not how this reads. This just says that if you want to challenge a book, it'll be removed.
No, under section 2, it's only specifically if it's those certain categories, sexual violence, inappropriate.
If I want my daughter to read Push, and someone decides tomorrow to challenge it, you are denying her access to that book.
Well, yes, like the top one says question material should not be available for student involved, and you find a decision. So if that student would not be able to read it.
But everyone else still has access to it.
Sexual content one, that's what they're asking.
So, no, I need you to say that again. So, does it get pulled for everyone if it's in graphic and sexual content?
Yes, it's pulled for everybody.
Okay, but what if I want my child to read that book? You are restricting my child's access. And we have a lot of students that are above 18 and they are still students.
Well, I don't think the school district, though, the public school district doesn't have an obligation to provide every book to every child that their parent wants them to read.
I believe we do. It's a public school. A student can request a book that they want to read as long as it is age appropriate.
Is not a requirement that we provide every book.
Not every book.
I think that would be
Well,
well.
that's
No, he said we don't have to provide every book in existence, but if a student wants a book, they can request it, correct?
We have it, but if we don't have it in our libraries, then we're not required to purchase it. Yeah, okay.
But if it's on another site, we can.
Would vote this part out, putting it in the guideline for the committee.
No, we need an expedited process so that we can protect kids. The other process doesn't work, it's too slow and it leaves harmful material in the library for access. We should have a secondary expedited process for harmful material. All the studies show.
Show me the studies.
How about we just, write it up here too, a decision shall be reached within 3 months, let's say 45 days, just like down here. Change it, and then everything that's decided.
I don't think the board should have to make decisions for every single complaint. If someone thinks something is questionable, that's not harmful to, it's not being harmful to kids, and
Why can't the principal just deal with it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Here, number 4, a decision shall be reached within 3 months of the original complaint date. Why don't we change that to 45 days? And then this goes in the guidelines, and they're still reviewing it now.
Because our staff have more important things to do than dedicate themselves to reading a book on our timeline.
Our staff had a read during winter break a couple of years ago. Remember that? That there shouldn't have to be that again.
The number that we were talking to Dr. Wagner about, we had spent, what, $20,000 on these book challenges? Those were explained at multiple board meetings. Multiple. Pardon?
The books and then we had like,
$20,000.
yeah, extra duty as a.
Okay, so let's go back to where we are. Okay, Patty, you're still, you don't want to change. You just want to add on number 4.
I don't need to change what we have, since we've had 0 people come and complain. Correct, Mr. Brown? Or 1?
Yeah.
1.
That I can remember this school year, I don't believe I can.
So, yes, I don't need to change anything on here, except I would be willing to include number 4 to say cabinet member and something else. The rest can go in the garbage.
And I would be okay with that part, and I would like to see the textual content where it would be in the guidelines.
So, in the top
And I would
part,
like those guidelines to be up for discussion as well. I think we're overstepping our reach here, and that is why we direct the superintendent to do things. This is his district, we just set the guidance.
so,
Okay, you want to make it on that?
I'm running now.
Okay. And you want to use
What section are you looking at though? Michelle, are you looking at the new version?
yeah, I'm just section 2, in 2 different things.
We're still talking about the new.
I'm talking, so Michelle, you want to do the new language, you're
Well,
good with accepting the whole
I'm
process
looking
here?
at it looks the same to me.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. We're good with what we have.
The complainant may appeal the decision by submitting a complaint writing to the district review committee.
To the 0 people who complained this year?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Including the superintendent. I just add these into that number 6, including the superintendent. And superintendent of services and director of elementary or secondary education, and where it is. Add that into number 6 and produce the exact thing.
It's not the same thing, Michelle. It's not.
Number 8, that's different on both. If you read number 8 on the original, number 8 on, that's the
It
difference.
just has more wording.
Well, it's more specific to, the new language says that ultimately, after 2 committee reviews, the person can still appeal the second committee decision in writing to the board president, and the board president will agendize for a vote within 2 standard board meetings.
Oh, actually, it says
And
the
the-
supervisor review committee.
And isn't that standard? I mean, I like it being in writing, but it's not true for anything that, someone wants to get on the agenda.
For any item, it doesn't always have to be agendized as an action. So that would be.
Okay, yeah, yeah, we're just. Everyone feel okay with everyone on the first page, I mean, there's just the services and director of elementary secondary. Okay, depending on what school it's at.
Yeah, but then I want 8 removed so that the board does not have the final say.
Are you talking the proposed, or are you talking on the?
Talking about 8.
On which one?
On the original as well, because if we're going to be making the committee bigger, which we've had that conversation before, I am fine with having a committee, but what is the point of having a committee if the board is going to disagree with them anyways? So I don't think the board should have a final say. We don't agree on anything, we're not going to agree on anything, we can't even agree on the language of this policy. So let's expand on the committee and allow a diverse background. I know that upsets everybody, but we're gonna allow a diverse background of people to participate, and therefore we will leave it at that.
And then, are you okay moving that questionable material, sexual conduct, sexual violence, all that to the guidelines for?
I would want to read what the current guidelines are and see where we can work something in where it says, you know, an example of maybe, not it, maybe. Then we can look at that. That's gonna be a whole separate issue though. This is this right now. And if we want to talk about the guidelines, I'm willing to talk about the guidelines.
Or do you need direction?
The direction, what ultimately, in what direction we want?
You talking, I want this stuff in the guideline, but I need to know.
I'm fine with putting it in the guideline, but we also need the second section.
No. And you guys don't want to, like, admit that this is banning books. This is, maybe it's not banning, it is restricting access to books. That is just as wrong.
Ultimately, what direction we're seeking is, if we're not gonna take it as written, then we need specific changes. I did hear some suggestions, and so taking that, the ones that you just said, if we move forward with that direction, I would need at least 2 others to say that that's an okay direction. Because I'm not hearing that we're gonna get majority with as written. And so the changes that I heard was basically adding number 4, adding cabinet to number 4. And then, just to be clear, are you looking at this new language for number 8 or the old language for 8?
We have to have that, we have to have that straight.
Yeah. But no, but that's why I just want to make sure that I clear out how you want to move forward.
Well, I was taking this out and putting this in, but did you say she just wanted all of it out? So, I think.
Want the board removed, yeah. The board removed is the final, that's the final decision.
If we don't have a majority of any of this, then we would move forward with anything.
And it could be brought back.
Could always be brought back.
Can we just workshop one policy? It is 4 o'clock. We've not even got through one policy.
We're gonna be here a while.
Well, ultimately, if we're not going to have a majority that agrees on a policy, then we would not move forward with it right now. That's what would happen.
So basically, President Renner, you're the one that would make a decision because we're 2-2.
Well, I'm hearing, just to clarify, what I'm hearing is that we don't want to, there's not a majority for the currently written, there's not a majority for modifications that Michelle has suggested, therefore there's not a majority. So we can move on to the next policy if this policy is not moving forward right now.
But can we at least get a majority on the data confirmation in Aries?
That would be procedure, that's not policy, that's something that we can do.
So we're.
That's speaking directly as a superintendent, that's the board's,
We have to, we at least agree that we want something in data, in Aries data confirmation.
I would like to see that. That's a good idea. So,
policy is dead right now, so if you'd like to see it, we should move forward with it.
Can we at least get some books run through? I mean, we haven't even had book policy this year, book challenge. Can we at least give this job the respect it deserves and allow us to go through the processes that we had in place before we start changing things for absolutely zero reason?
Not because this isn't an advisory, can we still put this little section in the guidelines? Is that still possible?
Part where you pull books, technically, anytime we have a book challenge, we pull all the books because we only have so many, and we have a committee that has to read them. So technically, every time that we've had a book challenge, the book has not been available for kids.
No, I'm not talking about that part.
Which part?
I'm talking about the language here.
As far as the guidelines, when we look at, yes, that can be part of what we look at in the guidelines, yes.
Can we do that without having this?
As part of our process, I think you can directly do that.
I would like to see those guidelines before we add them.
When we talk about processes, I can definitely bring that to everybody.
We can have a conversation about how, where, or if to add them. But that's like a separate issue.
So, okay, for today's purposes, let's, okay, I want to do that.
I want
to do this,
Let's move.
We're going to move to 6115. Okay, we'll take a. Do you want to take a break or do you want to just? Yes, we need to take a 5-minute break.
She won't even look at it. She won't even look at it. Look at her. She won't even look at it. Yes, we know. I always see those. Sorry, I didn't hear it. Yes, I know. I don't want this. We sit for that. Do you You know what though? She won't look up. All right, I will. Oh, thank you. Stop being So how much material do you have in the library? Oh, I'm so sad. That's what I'm
Thank you for getting up there speaking.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. She won't look up. Because I'm here for her. That's why I'm here. No. I know Michelle. Michelle is out of her depth. And she cannot stand. She is very crying. She's not able to stand up. She doesn't know how to because each one goes my heart is saying my mouth is behind.
Our lead counsel keeps saying Chano keeps changing bits and pieces.
And then the judge says
and then you have to read it's too descriptive. So yeah, Rob's not in favor of any of this stuff. So hey, good job.
I understand the judge wasn't where's that on our absence list? There's no more public comment. That'll be next week. I know, right? They didn't let anybody talk. As much as I love seeing you, I don't want to see you. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Always that's the reason why they got it. But I'm a little bit afraid of my family because you make Jesus cry. Some white Christian nationalists. Yeah. Oh, they didn't take over that. That was the church. One on the left? They missed the part. They did change that.
The one that if you're on Cypress is the stop sign?
Yes. Oh, right. Oh. I don't know. I don't think I know where her is. They're terrible people. Just look up one time. Here's one time. Just look up one time. One time.
Okay, we are back. We are going to take board policy 6115.
So this one's a little bit different because this one has already been seen in negotiations. There were several questions that came out in negotiations. So it's in the middle of the process, and so this discussion could just clarify how the board wants to continue with the language that's here.
Okay, anybody want to start? Janet, you want to start?
Based on what you said,
Yes.
then what are we commenting?
Well, we can look at some of the questions that were asked, or one thing that we didn't do with this policy before that was seen by the negotiations teams is have this discussion. The board didn't get to look at the language specifically, so there's just an opportunity to do that. Or we could ultimately just say, the board could say, you know what, we want to just let it continue through the process that it's already in.
Well, I don't know what we want to do, but there are different options. Because this is not changed from the one you got.
No, think there's some clarifying things. For example, there are some dates that are left off as far as things that we take off for holidays. So we would, make that accurate. And then there are days that are on there that we don't celebrate, so we take those off. We go according to the calendar that we have. And then there's questions about whether or not we want to clarify what we mean by political, social, or ideological movements is a question that was asked. And there's specific activities that we could speak to. For example, if we're going to be celebrating any kind of cultural months, is that still going to be okay? I'm assuming yes. I don't think the policy was meant for that. But we want to be clear on that. And then student clubs. A student club is able to do what a student club does. This doesn't limit a student club. However, RTA would have, and RESPA, with respect to how to impact a teacher who is the advisor of that student club, and or teachers who are going to advertise for that student club. Things like that, which we would negotiate with. It would be good to get clarity here. If everybody feels like the language is clear, then we would just have it continue going forward with the process already on.
I mean, if it's on your holiday, that we take all those out and we take all those out and just say district schools shall be closed on district approved holidays, and take them all out, because then there's a list of district approved ones on the website and we'll know which ones they are. Because that could change from year to year, and then we'd have to keep changing the policy.
What you're referring to is that the calendar. So our calendar meets and gets approved through negotiations, and then the board ultimately approves that calendar in the board action. And so you're saying to just have what is approved reflected on what holidays we have off. For example, Juneteenth was left off here.
Yes, it was.
It was not. It was not meant to be left off. And then there's something about.
How many drafts did this go through?
This is the only draft.
There was not an earlier draft on this?
That was not that came to the board. This is the same copy that the board saw in the meeting in January. And that was the first exposure that the board had.
The ChatGPT didn't include Juneteenth? Wouldn't it have if that's how we get this policy?
None of the policies are written for ChatGPT. Okay, so I don't know why, my point was, anyone that helps develop a policy and paper procedures, you gather information from different resources.
I just assumed. So where did this policy come from? Because, again, this board didn't write it, so.
It was brought forward by a board member.
Is that,
That's fine.
so
Should the board-
Melissa keeps bringing that up, Juan, or, I don't know who should answer that. Or Michelle, keeps bringing that up. Has that been the history, that only policies get brought forward if the whole board writes them together?
No.
Okay.
Typically, anybody can propose a policy, and they can propose it in.
With input from the board.
Well, that's what we're doing today.
So I'm just asking where this draft came from, that's all.
They wrote it.
So that's what I'm asking, if they wrote it.
Gino.
We were writing it initially. Then we stopped participating in writing it, and it became just fine. Jeanette has not provided any input on this policy at all. Because we can only have 2 board members, and we stopped participating in writing it. So it has just been me.
And I just want the transparency to know who wrote it and participated in it, that's it. So why was Juneteenth left out?
It was not intentional.
And I'm just saying that it seems to really be an intention.
A lot of things could have been left out. There's a lot more that we get. So that's why I'm suggesting that we say schools shall be closed on district-approved holidays. And don't write them down.
I don't have any problem with that, but is there an easy list that the teachers and people can refer to, like calendar holidays?
District calendar. District calendar.
Easy to reference?
Yeah.
Then I'm fine with that, but it doesn't matter.
What is the point of them to even have it here? As far as holidays? Was that here to indicate?
I think it's because it's under holidays, ceremonies, observances, it's just kind of
Part of the policy, it's just a general part of the policy.
standards.
Can we just do reference to the holidays that exist from our calendar?
Yeah, that's what Michelle's suggesting.
But it'd be nice to specify which ones they are, so they know who we're acknowledging and why we're off.
But that could change from year to year.
I think that what Michelle's trying to say is if we list it, this is a policy, which means that it would take board action to change it every year if we take a different day off, or if we add it in.
But the holidays that we celebrate and recognize should be on there so they know exactly what we are and why we're off. I don't like just a generic one that says.
Well, that's on the calendar.
So include the holiday without the dates.
Yeah, without the dates, the holidays. So New Year's Day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Washington Memorial Day, Juneteenth.
Well, but for instance, a couple years ago, Juneteenth didn't exist.
We could do this, we could write the language that says district schools should be closed on district approved holidays. Current district holidays include.
Yes.
And then it'll list.
And no
what
date.
Today's calendar says, which makes it very clear that the policies are reflecting that current. Because the date of the policy will be reflected.
Okay, and then you can say, maybe
So it says both, it says district approved calendar, which currently are following, right? So that if it changes, we still cover it because it says district approved calendar. So it says both. Yeah, it does both.
and we have to come up with which one.
We'll just use the district calendar and we'll list it directly from there.
You mentioned the clubs one, and I was thinking about that because we've had a lot of feedback about clubs, and this doesn't mention anything.
That's a question that came up. That's what I was mentioning.
So just my thought is, I mean, it doesn't say anything about clubs, so I would assume clubs should remain as they are.
The question that you have to answer is why it needs to be negotiated because there's some gray. For example, if I had the Juan Cabral Club, my Juan Cabral Club had a flag, okay, as a representation of my club. Maybe this policy says I can't put a Juan Cabral flag up in my room, but what if I'm advertising for my club and it's in my flyer? And now I'm putting up my Juan Cabral flag, club, come to my room, and you Juan Cabral, sorry. And it has, my flag, and now I'm asking other teachers to put this advertisement, and so that is me putting up my Juan Cabral flag without being able to put up my Juan Cabral flag. So I'm saying that that's a question that's being asked is, that, is that gonna be okay? Is that, because that's a student club, and we've been very clear, students are protected. This is not about students. We do have a say on the classroom environment, that the walls, things like that, we talk about that. This is what this kind of talks about, but that's why I love it.
The crossover there.
So I would like to include, where it says exceptions on the second page. Where are you? Third page, top of the third page.
You're on what page?
Top of the last page.
Why are we not going to do a sequence? Can we do a sequence?
Oh, I was just going to speak for wait, try the beginning. Just the beginning, so, yeah.
The first page, so we did the first page already.
Does anybody have anything on the first three paragraphs?
I would like Mr. Corral to speak to what is different from our current policy.
Because we don't have a current policy in place.
don't believe we have.
We don't need,
We don't have like.
we don't have, do a thing with
So that's kind of a patriotic moment, so can we remove patriotic from that? The intent of this policy to maintain a safe, appropriate, and welcoming environment. We're already legally obligated to have our patriotic moment.
So right now, we follow education code. There's not a board policy in our district, but we do follow education code, which says that we must take a patriotic moment. Which we do. 90%.
So the second paragraph, this policy specifies the district's schedule of observed holidays for members of exercise, patriotic exercises, the display of the American California flag, and guidelines for miscellaneous events and celebration. Is everybody okay with this wording? No?
I'm not quite thrilled about the miscellaneous events and celebrations, too big.
Okay.
And this policy serves to protect children from ideological, politically divisive observances and practices? No. Or it's too many.
So, help me understand, so we have students that create their own flags as part of the curriculum. You know, I'm not sure which class it is, but I know my students have been at multiple times where they're encouraged to make their own flag. We're basically saying they are not allowed to create that flag and hang it on the wall, correct?
Well, down here in another section it
Says no flags other than the United States of America and state of California may be displayed in school grounds unless it is a country, state, or United States military flag used solely for educational purposes, blah, blah, blah.
For those sports flags.
exceptions may be made for display of school championship flags, flags associated with academic achievement, various national flags within classrooms, recreation rooms, or gymnasiums. I also would like to add in college flags to there and attendance flags, because some of our schools do that. So if there's other ones, I mean, maybe classroom flags.
Okay, so what about a sports flag? My daughter's teacher has a Charger flag in the classroom.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, we gotta go back.
No, I know, but I mean, we're just, because this is the display of America and California flag, this is something we do. The American flag has to be bigger and higher than of any flag in any classroom.
Yeah, this is just saying what this policy is. So if you don't like some other wording, tell us.
I don't like any of this wording. We have policies in place already, we have guidelines in place already.
We have ed code already for that.
Then we don't have the policy.
There's no policy.
Right.
We have that code, not the policy. So I don't like the whole second paragraph either. Protect children from ideological,
Politically divisive observances and practices. This
No.
is gonna come back to where we are again.
The intent of this board is to maintain a non-exclusionary and welcoming environment for students.
And that's contradictory.
Yeah, so I'm saying take that whole second paragraph out.
Can you use that a little? I don't know. I don't know the document. Any thoughts on that?
The whole paragraph. The whole paragraph.
That's not. To you, this, in my opinion, we don't agree with either.
Melissa, would you be okay if we say guidelines for events and celebrations instead of miscellaneous, because that's kind of vague, right?
Remember where we are?
That first sentence.
District's schedule of observed holidays, commemorative exercises, patriotic exercises that display American and California flags, and guidelines for miscellaneous events and celebrations. What do you want to change it to?
You said you don't like the word miscellaneous.
Well, miscellaneous event celebrations, if we're really gonna like start getting really specific and dictating what can and cannot be in our classrooms, it needs to be written out.
That's what we're trying to do right now.
No, I understand that. So let's talk about what flag we're really talking about.
I'm not. The whole second
activities needed for online voter advocate political social. Take that out too.
This entire conversation is political. These are nonpartisan seats for a reason. We have an obligation to serve the students, every student, not the ones we don't, not the ones that we only like or the ones that we don't like, or the ones that, you know, we really good against or not.
These, I think snapping is supposed to be better, but really, we still can hear it.
Giving me a migraine, really. Okay. Okay, so if we can go down, if we can just move on to the next and see where we are. And there's other exercises. I would like to change the word shall to may. No sugar in schools don't have to do it.
That's no sugar come.
They don't have to do it. We're not required to do it. And then patriotic exercises. This is just pulled from the other one, right? This is pulled from that. Okay.
I don't think that's.
Carl, can you clarify?
So is that code 5.2?
It does come from education code, it's referenced right there.
As long as it's directly from a code written as that, then I have no issue with it.
I would like to add, at secondary schools, such exercises shall be conducted instead of during the homework period, say at the beginning of the school day before the period.
There's a difference. Everyone has a homework, not everybody does. Not everybody has a third period.
I think here you're referencing time, not necessarily that you have that class. She's saying like, you can go before 10 o'clock, if that's easier, before 9 o'clock. But I think before third period, just for time reference time. So
Everything's done in the homework period.
not every school has homework.
No, I understand that, but not every student has every period. Like our seniors have gaps in their schedule, so like.
I'm saying that like, if you don't have a third period, you're still gonna say 10 weeks before third period. That's what it means.
Do you want to put before 10 a.m.?
What if that student is out on, like?
Just everybody does it school.
No, I know, I understand that, so it shouldn't just be done during the school day, it shouldn't be done during the school day, because some of our students are excused from their class period because they are doing on-site, like ASB, or they're doing dance. I mean, what if they do when they get back? Like,
But that you're talking what's particular group of students.
we're talking about in a particular time.
And they're all in different classes, so you can never, if that teacher already did the pledge in the morning, right, she's not gonna do it again, right? I mean,
Generally speaking, our process, and I said 90% of the time earlier, because I don't know that we do it every single day, but we do it on all in the morning at all our schools. And so it's not really up to the teacher as much as it's up to.
Why are we just leaving it then?
Because I think what Michelle was trying to reference is, it's specific to elementary school in the second paragraph. It says at the beginning of each school day, but then the secondary schools says during homeroom period, so she just wanted to change it because not everybody has homework.
Could you change it to the beginning of each school day? Like, why are we making it different?
so teach some classes will work in the period, and they do the same period at some schools. So each secondary school doesn't have their choice.
Why does elementary have an ed code number and secondary doesn't?
It's the same one. We didn't put it in there.
So why couldn't you just do at elementary and secondary schools such as shall be conducted at the beginning of each school day period?
If it says homeroom period, is that how it's written in that code?
I think that's the way it's written, yes.
Why are you?
Because that's not accurate when you're on homeroom period, you're not doing it. I don't think that's what the intent of the law was.
But if that code has it, then we should follow that code.
We're saying the same thing. I would suggest that we just put beginning of the day and leave it to the schools to decide what that means.
Yeah, okay.
Well, no. No flag other than the United States of America and the state of California may be displayed on school grounds unless it is a country, state, or United States military flag solely used for educational purposes to be adopted curriculum. No. Any other flag to be approved by the superintendent and superintendent's designee prior to displaying it? No. These are educational purposes.
I don't agree with this includes posters, digital displays, flyers, and any other related display. There are plenty of posters with different countries' flags on it that are provided in world history class. My daughter's Spanish class has flags all over the place of different Spanish-speaking countries. Those have to come down. I don't want that.
There is national flags in classrooms.
Well, it does say
So why do we need to dictate? Why can't we just leave it? Again, say the quiet part out loud. Say the flag we're all talking about.
Well, like any flag that can be divisive and offensive to some people shouldn't be in a classroom hanging. We should be respectful for all of the family. And that doesn't mean picking and choosing which type of flags you want to display. So
Picking and choosing which students we want to support?
that's not true. That's not true at all.
No, that is true,
No,
because we
it's
have
not.
students that identify under that flag that you don't want to say out loud. I'm going to say it, it's the pride flag. We have students that identify, we have staff that identify it. What does that say to our staff? The ones who day in and day out have served our students, give up their time, their energy, their own personal resources, and you want to erase them?
No, not at all. You are totally misguided in what your accusations. Totally misguided. Any professional workplace, you are not allowed to display your social, political activism as a professional. That is just standard professional business. So for whatever reason, classrooms seem to be an exception. Now, I don't appreciate you treating me like I don't like the students that identify differently, because that's not true. That is not true. And I don't appreciate you. I don't appreciate you. Okay, listen. I care about all kids, and I care about all families. And all families will not agree on all different political flags or banners. So I don't think that we should be taking a position professionally in the classroom on any of them.
And that's where you and I disagree.
Be respectful in our disagreement.
Choose to respect our staff and students.
Again, I also respect our staff and students.
Calling them the LGBTQ cult. I have the screenshot if you want to see it.
We're done with this part of the conversation. Knock it out. So we are on display flag. I want to scratch the whole thing. It's nonsense.
We're not supposed to be having this discussion anyways.
The flag of the United States and the flag of California shall be displayed during business hours at the entrance or on grounds of every district school or in their office.
Up there, but then no other flag. Other than this. Yeah, definitely. Hey, it's scratch that whole, it's crazy.
So what would you want to have it just open for any flag that, how about we do now? The teacher wants to put up.
Yeah, we do.
What harm is our current lack of policy doing? Mr. Brown?
Zero again.
I'm not sure I answered that.
Have our test scores been trending down?
Trending down, no, we're trending up.
How about our grad rate?
But we
How
have
about our grad rate?
significant growth, not in every single area, and I think if you only reported math, it wasn't too, we did go down.
And our grad rate?
Grad rate went up 4%.
And our state scores?
Are gradually increasing.
And our
we're
attendance?
We're not at pre-COVID numbers.
I understand that. No one is at pre-COVID numbers really. But how about our attendance?
Our attendance is about 1% higher every year.
Do we have a lot of,
We're at 93 right now.
do we have a lot of openings for staff? Are we understaffed as far as teachers go?
We need paras,
Need paras.
but other than that, we're doing pretty
So the status quo has been working just fine. We're on an upward rise.
Enrollment is declining.
That's right. Nationally.
Okay, let's talk about enrollment numbers. Let's do that.
Nationally, it's declining, but you know that.
Okay, well, you brought up enrollment. Let's talk about enrollment. No. They are down across the state. We are no exception to that.
I understand that. I said I meant our mission here today is to talk about our school district.
Yes, and we're talking about, you said that our enrollment is down and you're referring that it's down because of our stance on pride flags.
Is that what you're specifically saying?
Never said anything. What are you talking about? Someone said that?
You just did. You just said that enrollment was down. I am asking if our attendance is up, if our state scores are up, if our grad rate is up. All of it is on the rise because we are headed in a positive direction. We have a new superintendent who I worked very hard. We all worked very hard to get on this board. Do you know how unattractive this district is to people? You know how hard it was to choose a superintendent, somebody that wanted to be here? And you are making this district unattractive with these policies. These policies are an attack on our students. They are divisive. They are political. This is not right. And our students are doing better because of what we have been doing, from the hard work of our superintendent, from all of our teachers, from all of our staff, from RTA to RESPA. Everybody in this district, including our students, have been working very hard to set us in a positive direction. This does not do it. The news is here. Does that say anything about us being in a positive direction?
Basically what you're doing is you're discounting the vast majority of people that live in my area because they complain about the political influence that's happening in the classrooms. In fact, I was walking our dog the other day and a neighbor stopped me to tell me they're so sick of it and they're just about on the verge
Is that
of
neighbor
pulling
sure
their
in
kids.
this district?
Yes,
Okay,
they do.
then that's fine. Then
What I'm telling you is you
have-
are discounting all
No,
of
I'm
the
not.
people who
What
have
I'm-
told me this over and over again. So please, it is a real problem. Okay, whether you agree to acknowledge it or not, it is a problem. And people don't want to come here, get mocked, get hated on. That's why there are very few people from my community, from other communities that want to come and speak in favor of these policies because they get their work docs, they get hated on social media, and it's a very uncomfortable situation. And they just want their wishes to be respected as
So when they
parents.
come to us with an issue, we can address that issue. We can always make an accommodation. We have never had a complaint about a pride flag.
So what happens a lot of times is the kids either won't tell their parents about it in the classroom because they know the parents will pull them out of the school, or the kid will tell their parents about it and they'll ask their parent not to say anything because they don't want the teacher to be retaliatory towards the child. So this is why you don't hear a lot of it. They tell it to me all the time, okay?
And I said the opposite all the time.
Okay, so?
It is not 50-50.
No.
It is not 50. I want to see those postcards because it was not 50-50.
Lies.
It was not 50-50.
That's a lie. That's crazy. That's a straight lie.
I'm not just telling the other side. I'm saying we are willing to make accommodations for the other side should there be an issue.
We can't hear you. Can you speak?
So, what flag? The pride flag in Groom. It was at one point a Black Lives Matter flag. So there are some issues.
What is wrong with the Black Lives Matter flag? Do Black Lives not matter? I asked you a question. I didn't put words in your mouth.
I'm saying, for some people, some flags are not offensive, or they make them uncomfortable. Some things make people uncomfortable.
makes me uncomfortable, Michelle, and apparently nobody cares. This whole conversation is uncomfortable. I have students thanking me, and I am not just counting the people in your area that don't, there are people in my area that do not agree with me. But I have to think of the child because that is my obligation. I don't have an obligation to my constituents, and neither do you. We have an obligation to our students. Again, because apparently nobody was paying attention, and during our workshop, there is a board bylaw that says we are to set the direction for the district through a process that involves the community, parents, guardians, students, and staff, and is focused on student learning and achievement. We are also to provide community leadership and advocacy on behalf of the students, all our students. The district's educational program and public education in order to build support within the local community at the state and national levels. If we have children, students, who say this helps their learning environment, this helps them feel welcome, it helps them feel supported, why would you take that away from them? This is not having a negative impact on anyone. If somebody is uncomfortable with it, fine. Have a conversation with us, make an anonymous report. I don't know, but this is like a problem that we're not having right now. But you know what this does? It hurts. It hurts students. It hurts staff. We have plenty of staff members that are out.
You say we're not having a problem right now. So you might not be. You might not be. Right? Somebody else might be.
Okay, then
And
we're
all
solving.
students. We're talking all students. I mean, so there's not a right or a wrong on here.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Excuse me, please.
You're supposed to be teaching an inclusive environment for all, for
So
everyone.
yeah, when does that come up? Because are we gonna start talking about, we're gonna start removing, or changing our mission statement, we're not inclusive, we're not accepting? Well, this is no longer a safe district? No, I understand you're not saying that, but this is the direction that we're heading. Because in districts that decide to enact these policies, one, they're not actually happening. Just because they enact them doesn't mean that they are actually happening. They're illegal, they're being challenged. I, for one, do not want another court case in this district. But you know what? Apparently people don't care. However, there is proof that students that are in districts where they've enacted these policies feel less safe. This is bullying by the board. We are bullying. You can scoff all you want. This is bullying, and I know you don't care.
I just can't believe you said that. I can't believe you think that a child would not feel safe in our teachers' classrooms if they didn't have a particular ideological flag. I just can't believe you think that a child wouldn't feel safe. Their teacher is the perfect person to make them feel safe. Can they not do that without a flag? I mean, I think they could.
So are they supposed to have that conversation and test out every teacher? Because this will go along with your outing policy, correct?
We just get to go forward with our policy and.
So we don't talk anymore?
No, we're just gonna agree to disagree. I would like to be respectful, but it doesn't seem, it's not gonna
Just
happen.
having a conversation.
What's the question?
I want to know why it is that you feel that the pride flag is such a threat to our students.
I think any flag that is controversial should, for the safety and comfort of all families, to respect all families' wishes, we should remain
An
neutral.
inclusive flag.
I would think that we should be neutral. I don't think that teachers should fly a Trump flag or a Biden flag or any other flag that they choose to. I don't think we should be influencing them, the children, in that way, in which way to believe politically or ideologically.
Flags don't influence anybody.
Can I interject something there? So, you say about the Trump flag, Biden flag. The place it's appropriate is in a government class, an industry class, during the classes.
If you're teaching something, and
Also,
also
to go with the curriculum.
we can teach.
So we don't teach acceptance or?
No, we can teach on controversial issues. We have a policy for that. And as long as you present both sides in a balanced way, that's what I would like. I would like it to be balanced.
Acknowledging someone's existence is not controversial.
I am not saying that we're going to try to, how did I say that? that I'm not gonna acknowledge someone's existence. I think I said that.
Did you say we're not supposed to be getting into a controversial subject?
I did not say that. In fact, I said we have a policy that about controversial subjects where we can talk about them as long as we present it in a balanced and fair way.
Back to thinking is that the American flag is all inclusive. If you have only one flag for a small group of people, that is not all inclusive.
Don't you think the American flag has been, I don't know, maybe taken hostage by a certain political group, and maybe it upsets some people sometimes? That's your opinion.
Well, you asked me, and I said no.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and that's your opinion.
No, I don't.
But it doesn't mean I think that we should be banning American flags from our classroom.
So, I mean, I think that's part of where the pride flag is at issue right now. There could be other flags at issue in the future.
What kind of flags?
Are only directed towards specific groups of people.
Like what?
Like the Christian flag. There could
We
be
have a Christian flag on our campus. During a club meeting.
Well, we're not talking about club meetings.
Oh, but we'll get there eventually, right? Because we're gonna start telling our kids when they join clubs. Yes, we are.
The general rule that we follow right now, with respect to flags, is centered around students, so student clubs. So if the student club has a flag, then that is allowed. So that's sort of the general rule, and there's all kinds of student clubs.
So we're talking about, this policy is talking about classrooms where there's a wide range of students with a wide range of beliefs, their families' beliefs, morals, values, to keep it neutral is the goal.
So if you want to see a pride flag, you don't have morals or values.
Well, just let me clarify.
Is that a range of?
If you have a student club that is a pride club, then their flag is allowed because it's part of the club. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, what this would do is it would say we would limit what can be in our classrooms, and it can only be this flag. So then that would mean that all student club flags would not be allowed. So it would not just be, it would be very specific. And so that, like all the other kind of flags that we're talking about, the only ones that are allowed right now are student club flags.
That's why I said scratch that whole portion of display of flag in this. Except for the ones that have, obviously, flag passed out and then delete all the others.
I'm open to renegotiating this, having this conversation when we show that we have issues. I want data to show that districts that put up these flag policies thrive. I think that's a fair thing to ask.
What do you think, Michelle, regarding the policy?
I would like to add, that part right after no flag other than the United States, that whole paragraph. At the bottom, exceptions may be made if,
Second page? Okay.
third page.
Okay.
Exceptions may be made for display of flags of school championship flags, flags associated with academic achievement, various national flags within classrooms, recreation rooms, and gymnasiums.